This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Well, good day to you, upstate South Carolina. How are you? Welcome in. Wednesday. The Rob Brown Show's on the radio. It's ESPN Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all over the world on the Odyssey.com app and ESPNUpstate.com, and of course on the Facebook stream at Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. How do you do, America? It's great to be back with you on a Hump Day edition of the Big Show. I am Rob Brown, your ever so humble, yet frequently corrected, dare I say, dashingly good-looking host back in the network studio, in charge of buttons, pulleys, levers, knobs, gears, and fulcrums, all required apparatus to get us broadcasting daily on the show. He is the great one. They call him Dad Kicks. Lonzo at the helm. What up, Zoe?
Sup? How are things?
Well, we got a game 6 coming up between the Preds and the Canes, which, by the way, the answer is yes. I am elated, Lonzo, to know that I'm going to take credit. I have talked the powers that be into playing that game right here on ESPN Upstate. The people, the Caniacs are running wild, brother. What you gonna do, brother, when the Carolina Hurricanes run wild on you?
Not bad. Got some volume out of that, didn't peak. And the hand motions were great, which if you were watching on the stream, you would have been able to see that. Excellent.
Yeah, brother.
So the powers that be, did you go after the powers that be with that voice?
I didn't need to. They heard me, Lonzo. They heard me talking about hockey. They tuned in last night with a square 2-2 series between Nashville and the Canes. They tuned in.
By the way, you're welcome for that, because I did not watch, just so you would have a good game. You're welcome.
I did not watch OT thriller. Jordan Staal nets the game winner. The Canes up 3-2 in a weird series for me, because I'm a Nashville fan as a dude, but as a radio host, I understand it is better for me if the 10,000 screaming Caniacs get their way and the Canes move on. I told y'all, I was sitting, as a matter of fact, on, Monday evening. On Monday evening, I went up to one of our local watering holes with a couple of gents from the Swamp Rabbits organization to watch a little hockey. And as we're sitting there, one of them says, man, who could have known that Nashville and Carolina was going to turn into what looks to be an all-time great Stanley Cup playoff series? And the answer was me simply raising my hand in the air and saying, tell me you don't listen to my show without telling me that you don't listen to my show. Because I tried to tell y'all this series was a 7-game series that was going to be bananas, BANANAS. And it was, and it is. Game 5 last night, yet another OT game. Didn't have to go to double this time as Jordan Staal got it done, but the Canes up 3-2 over the Preds as we head back to Music City for Game 6, a Game 6 that the Canes can finally put the Preds to sleep, or if they drop another one on the road. And I told you 2 weeks ago that I thought this was a home team wins almost every game series. And hockey's weird. One bounce to the puck the wrong way, and it can end the pattern. But I figured this was a series that home teams were going to look good, and so far, they have. The home team has won every game so far. If the pattern holds, we go back to Music City for Game 6 between the Preds and the Canes, and then we'll be back to PNC at Raleigh for Game 7. Turns out, I got plenty more to say about this, so we'll circle back around to it. But before we get there, ladies and gentlemen, we start our show off by giving you the news you need to know before you hit your lunch break. It is the lunch breakdown.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys are here.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
It is the lunch breakdown. The 3 things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. This will be the scuttlebutt. This is what you will need to know to start with item number 1. A lesson being learned in the world of sports. And for the second time in 2 days, I will alert Lonzo to the fact that yours truly will play the role of the conspiracy theorist in this particular discussion, as has been the trend this week, apparently. A major issue going on in NASCAR right now, or at least for one particular team, but it's something I think the sport itself is going to have to personally address. I think it is something the sport itself is going to have to step in, and I think there is a lesson to be learned for all of the sports as they watch this situation play out. Last night, very late at night, it was broken on Reddit and nowhere else that I have seen by a Reddit user named NASCAR_champ. He went digging on the North Carolina Department of Justice website, and he found that Chase Elliott's spotter from last week, Eddie Daunt, has been charged with assault on a female and battery of an unborn child. Now, why is that news, you ask? And I answer, it's news because it's not news. It's news because it has been talked about nowhere. I went digging after this story broke late last night on Reddit, as I doom scrolled into the early hours of the morning, as I am wont to do when my bouts with insomnia pick up. As I doom scrolled Reddit and I came across this little tidbit, I started going to all of my NASCAR resource websites. I started going to all of them. And do you know who broke and carried the story? That Chase Elliott spotter, Eddie Daunt, had been charged and arrested with assault on a female and battery of an unborn child? Literally nobody. Literally no one was reporting that story. Now, I want to say this. I understand that NASCAR news agencies are not responsible for digging for every name in NASCAR through every Department of Justice website in America to see if they can find where someone got arrested. But somebody knew. Somebody knew. Somebody had to know this happened within the sport. If not the sport, he is a member of, obviously, the Rick Hendrick Motorsports team, arguably the biggest name in NASCAR right now. And nobody knew. Now, it's not wildly uncommon for somebody to get arrested and to be able to keep that information under wraps. It's not the craziest thing in the world to think that somebody might get arrested and might be able to keep that info away from their boss. That's not that, but this is a big one. This is a big deal. Eddie and his fiance have deleted their Twitter accounts, which in 2021 is the equivalent of literally building a spider hole to hang out inside of to stay out of the public eye. This is very interesting. And I think that there is a lesson to be learned here, and it is this. Whether you're doing it out of malice in order to keep your dirty laundry off the television, and that might be the case here for Rick Hendrick Motorsports, or whether you are just not paying attention to the lives and the public activities of your employees, in the year 2021, no activity by anyone connected to a professional sport in America is out of the limelight. Everything is seen and shall be seen. So NASCAR and Rick Hendrick Motorsports has a dude arrested for beating a pregnant woman. No one talks about it. No one says anything about it. He's allowed to act as the spotter for Chase Elliott in the race last weekend, and not a thing was done about it. We are at a point in the year 2021 where we are seeing NBA players be fined $50K, and questions about whether they should be suspended or not are popping up when they find themselves at a brand rep and agency party during the playoffs. LeBron James. We are seeing players and coaches' public lives exposed in a way never before seen. And while I think we do have to be very careful in not wanting people punished, not because they did something wrong, but because they did something we didn't like. I have seen people call for athletes to be suspended because they had the audacity to have a cocktail. I don't think he should be drinking as a role model for my children. Nope, that's on you. That's your call. And you can teach your kids that's bad if you want. It's your life. But I'm pretty sure, Lonzo, and I could be wrong here, I'm pretty sure beating a pregnant woman is going to be universally frowned upon. Universally frowned upon.
If it's not and you're okay with it, there's something wrong with you.
Correct. We may disagree on different behaviors from different people, especially when they're athletes in the public eye, but I think beating a woman who is pregnant, beating a woman at all is universally frowned upon. Beating a woman who's pregnant is like double universally frowned upon. And the fact that this made it through the cracks of Rick Hendrick Motorsports, made it through the cracks of NASCAR, and this guy was allowed to work. Not great. Not great. We'll circle back around to that later on in the show. Item numero dos in the lunch breakdown. Not a great day yesterday for baseball amongst our major D1 universities here in the upstate. Louisville versus Clemson yesterday. Clemson in ACC pool play. Now, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Here's how the system works in the ACC. The first round of ACC action is pool play. There are 4 pools with 3 teams. The way it has worked is that each team will play the other 2 teams in their pool. The team with the best record, that is to say, if a team goes 2-0 in pool play, they move on. If there is a tie between teams in pool play, then the team that is seeded higher in their pool would move on to the semifinals. There will be 4 teams, obviously, with 1 team moving on from each pool. The pools A and D will play each other. B and C will play each other. The winner of those 2 games move on to the ACC Baseball Championship game. Clemson, due to a huge fall off in the back half of their season, found themselves as the 11th seed in the ACC and the lowest seed in Pool B. Well, yesterday, and by the way, that means, since in the case of a 1-1 tie, the higher seeded team would move on. That meant that the only way for the Clemson Tigers to move out of that pool and into the ACC Championship semifinal would have been to go 2-0 in pool play. Yesterday, they did not do that as they fell to Louisville. Louisville scored in 7 of the first 8 innings en route to a 15-10 victory over Clemson in the first game of the ACC tournament. The Cardinal improved to 28-21. The Tigers dropped to 24-27. A good day from Caden Grice, belted an opposite field 2-run homer in the first. The Cardinals responded with a pair in the bottom. Clemson scored 3 in the top of the second on Adam Hackenberg's run-scoring single, and Bryce Teodosio had a 2-run double before Ben Matzinger laced a 2-run homer in the bottom of the second. Grice led off the top of the third with his second homer of the game, 15th of the season. Then Henry Davis and Alex Bonellis hit solos in the bottom of the third to square it up at 6 apiece. Teodosio crushed a long 2-run homer, his 7th of the season, in the top of the fourth to give Clemson the lead. Then Metzinger hit a 2-runner, his 2nd of the game, in the bottom of the fourth, and Davis added a solo shot, his 2nd of the game, to give Louisville the lead. After Louisville played it a run in the 5th, Hackenberg belted a solo shot, his 2nd of the year, in the top of the 6th inning to narrow the Cardinal lead to 10-9. Benellis responded with a 3-run shot. Levi Usher lined a run-scoring single in the bottom of the 6th. Hackenberg grounded a 2-out run-scoring single in the top of the 8th. Benellis led off the bottom of the 8th with his 3rd long ball of the game. Grice became the 9th Tiger and the first since back in 2018 to hit a pair of dingers in an ACC tournament game. Hackenberg went 4 for 4 with a home run, 3 ribbies, and 3 runs scored. Teodosio added a homer, a double, and 4 ribbies as well. The team combined for 11 home runs to set an ACC tournament record. Tiger reliever Mac Anglin was saddled with the L, ends with a 2-6 record. Now the Tigers face Georgia Tech today at 7 p.m. in their final ACC tournament game. Clemson is the designated home team, and it will likely be the Tigers' final game of the season. But they were not alone in sadness yesterday. The University of South Carolina baseball team fell in the opening round of the 2021 SEC tournament 9-3 to Alabama. Carolina had home runs from Braylon Wimmer and Wes Clark, which is his national leading 22nd round tripper. But the Gamecocks gave up 6 runs in the 3rd inning in the loss. Wimmer had 2 hits on the day for Carolina. CJ Wines took the loss, allowing 4 unearned with 3 walks and 3 Ks. Peyton Wilson had 3 hits, and Jackson Tate 3 ribbies for the Tide, who advance now to the 2nd round, which is double elimination. The first round of the SEC, single elimination for the bottom 8 teams. Now the 4 winners move on to take on the 4 teams that had a first round bye, and it is double elimination from this point forward. Now, what's next for Carolina? Well, they await for the host site announcement coming up on Sunday at 8:30 p.m. and the announcement of the full 64-team field on Monday. Carolina was selected as one of the 16 teams that could host a regional in the NCAA baseball tournament. But they would have needed, I think, to put on a bit better showing at the SEC tournament down in Hoover in order to be assured of a regional spot. We do not know if Carolina will get the regional, and if not, where they will travel if they are named in that 30-team field. Finally, item number 3 on your lunch breakdown today, and we're going to talk about this a little more in depth later on in the show. Christian Pulisic, Zach Steffen, both on the U.S. men's national team final man, a 23-man roster for the upcoming CONCACAF Nations League Final in Denver. The Premier League pair will take part in Saturday's UEFA Champions League Final for their respective clubs and will both miss the USMNT's friendly against Switzerland in St. Gallen on Sunday as a result. But then the U.S. will travel home to take on Honduras on June 3rd at Empower Field at Mile High Stadium. If it prevails in that match, it will move on to the final set for June 6th. If the U.S. falls to Honduras, it will take part in the 3rd place game also on June 6th. Mexico and Costa Rica square off on the other semifinal matchup. Some of the big names that are on this list. We mentioned Zach Steffen, the goalkeeper from Manchester City, who had a very good year over across the pond. Joined on the defensive side, John Brooks, Reggie Cannon, Serginho Dest, which is a big name. Matt Miazga, Mark McKenzie are going to be there. Anthony Robinson and DeAndre Yedlin will return from Galatasaray to be on this team for the Nations League Final. Kellen Acosta, Tyler Adams, Sebastian Leggett, Weston McKinney, Yunus Musa, and Jackson Ewell from San Jose will be your midfielders. And up on the top of the formation, Brendan Aronson from Red Bull Salzburg, Christian Pulisic from Chelsea, Gio Reyna, Josh Sargent, and Tim Weah will be at the top of the attack for the USMNT. I'm in love with this roster. And later on in the show, I will tell you why. And we'll get Lonzo's thoughts on the starting 11 for the U.S. men's national team in June. I can see the excitement on his face already, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a quick break. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, Trevor Lawrence has given his first full-length interview as a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Big questions about Herb, Tebow, and maybe most importantly, will his hair make it to week 1 Trevor had a very cautious answer. And we'll tell you when we come back to the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
So a heads up on something that's trending. We may not get to it, but I usually wouldn't tell you this, but because of what it is, this would require some thought, which you may not be able to do in the next 3 hours. What is No, not for that. Not for that reason, because you're doing a show. Name 3 perfect movies. So a ton of movies are trending right now, including No Country for Old Men and The Dark Knight is trending.
I don't hate that one. Tombstone's on that list for me. Tombstone. Yeah, this is going to require some thought. I have one right now. Tombstone is.
I'm not sure there is a perfect movie. I mean, what is perfect?
Tombstone is perfect. It's a perfect movie. You've seen Tombstone, right?
You hurt me deeply.
I'm just making sure, because anybody who's seen Tombstone should automatically add Tombstone to that list.
I'm trying to think of what is the criteria for the perfect movie for you. I mean, is it genre specific because of what you're into? Is it, I don't know. Steven says Goonies. I wouldn't give it perfect though, because they left data mentioning something about the octopus at the end of the movie, even though the octopus was cut out of the movie. And that to me makes it not a perfect movie.
That's fair.
This is going to surprise you. I would almost say The Natural might be a perfect movie.
That's not a bad.
But it's a baseball movie. That's why I'm saying I thought it would surprise you that I would come up with that. I've seen Winter Soldier, and I think I may agree with that.
Winter Soldier is a great movie.
And Dark Knight, it's just, I think I'd hate for my 3 to be comic book movies, but it would be telling and not a surprise.
Yeah, it's personality fitting. I'm going to put Tombstone on there.
30 seconds.
Can you give me a reason not to include Braveheart? It's not historically accurate, but as a standalone movie, can you give me a reason not to?
That's the first time I'd ever seen limbs like severed by. It was just it was so disturbing. Yes.
I think Braveheart may go on there.
Join the Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
Coming up in the next segment, Zoe came up with a question during the break that I'm going to ask you, and I ordinarily do not do these types of questions on the air, but we are having quite a time coming up with some answers for it. So that's going to be in the next segment. Trevor Lawrence gave his first major interview as a Jacksonville Jaguar down there in the worst city in America, in the Sunshine State. Eric Edholm of yahoosports.com sat down with TL16. He of recent marriage, both to a woman and to a new football team. So they caught up with Trevor Lawrence and asked him a handful of questions. Unfortunately, I do not have the audio, but I will give you the answers. The first question they asked: so you're new to Jacksonville. What are your early impressions of the city, and how has your early acclimation to the Jaguars and NFL life been? And I'm going to start by saying, I expected Trevor Lawrence to be better than this, Lonzo. I expected Trevor Lawrence not to be a bold-faced liar. I expected him not to be someone who could look into a camera and just lie to our faces. But he said, quote, just a lot of great people here, end quote. I've been to Jacksonville. The lie detector test determined that was a lie. Jacksonville's awful. All right? It's just awful.
Yeah, but you're not Trevor Lawrence.
That's true. If I had millions of dollars and had my name all over the stadium, they might like me more.
Yeah, they might treat you a little bit better,
Fair.
possibly.
All right, that's fair. I'll give TL16 the benefit of the doubt. He said, yeah, just a lot of great people here. That's one thing you can tell pretty early on, just the energy of the people, that everyday atmosphere, and it's been pretty great so far. I love coming here and going to work, and you don't have a lot of guys complaining. That's the last thing you want on your team, guys who don't want to be there. Quick break. Nobody wants to be in Jacksonville, all right? Nobody wants to be. You might be an NFL player making millions of dollars, but you would rather be making it in, let me check my list of cities, 31 other ones. All right.
Breaking news, Rob Brown says no one wants to be in Jacksonville.
No one wants to be in Jacksonville. That place is a dump. He said, we have a good group of guys. I'm getting to know everyone, running around the field and getting some work and just trying to sync up a little bit. Obviously, there are a lot of adjustments for me, learning a new offense and a new routine, learning what it's like to be a pro and all the things I need to do to prepare. A lot of learning. It's a big learning curve, no doubt, but it's been great. And I am in a great place, I think, with the staff we have. I think so far we're doing a great job. Yahoo Sports said, Jaguar season tickets request shot up the second the team earned the number one pick. You're the most hyped first overall pick in a few years. Have you started to feel how big the expectations of you and this team might be? Lawrence said, quote, honestly, I haven't really been focusing on any of that. It's just me trying to prepare each day and learn as much as I can so that I'm ready. I haven't paid attention to most of it. Obviously, you see things and notice things, but I will say I have a high expectation of myself too, so I try to keep those as my main focus and the team's expectations for ourselves. That's the main objective. Obviously, there will be a lot of people on the outside that put labels or expectations on us, and we want to have our goals and follow our plan and do whatever we can to be ready for the season. That's where our focus is, but it's hard not to say there are not expectations for us. Now this is my job. It's our job to perform well. I accept all those. The work has just started. Yahoo asked him about Travis Etienne. Was he surprised that the Jags brought his old college teammate down, and his thoughts on Etienne working out as a receiver? Quote, especially considering Etienne once admitted he was afraid of the ball when it was thrown to him early at Clemson. Lawrence said, quote, it's still early in the install this offseason, figuring out what our identity will be based on our personnel. Our whole staff, Coach Shoddy, Coach Bevel, Coach Meyer, we have a great initial plan, and our offense is awesome. The guys are loving it, but as far as personnel and who are going to put where, we've got to feel it out and move guys around, try things out. We'll get there. I'll say from my experience playing with Travis, from my first year to my third year, he just improved so much, catching the ball so much. Just put the film on. You'll see him making plays. As each year went on, he was making more and more plays in the passing game, more confident and more dangerous. He's already shown that he can pick it up, and he's gotten a lot better. Now it's just about running more diverse route tree. I think that's the biggest thing, and I have no doubt he'll pick that up. He went on, Yahoo Sports asked him about Schottenheimer, his new passing game coordinator, and a guy who designed and coached Russell Wilson, and asked, will his ability to run the football be utilized in the offense? He said, yeah. I mean, some of that is going to be game plan specific. It might vary week to week. I think that's something that I bring to the table that I can do pretty well. That's always going to be a part of my game to some extent. I don't think it's going to be like at Clemson where we ran zone read like 10 or 15 times a game, but certainly it's going to be something I can use if I need it. Being able to make plays with my legs or being able to extend plays is always going to be something that I'm going to be able to use and stay on top because I think it's so valuable. But as far as scheme-wise and talking about zone reads or whatever those might be, I'm not really sure. I think that kind of depends. I am here to throw touchdowns first. That's the main point, so we'll see how that goes. They asked him about Tebow. He said, Tebow was big when I started getting into watching football and college football, right when Tim Tebow was at his heyday at Florida. I played with him on all the NCAA games, but no, I never met him before until last week. That was cool for me to get to meet him. You would have just thought that our paths would have crossed at some point, but they just hadn't. I found that interesting. The first thing that jumped out to me was the person, just his character, what he brings to the locker room, a guy you want to be around. He just does things right. I think Coach Meyer and the staff knew that bringing him on. He's been awesome so far, just a hard worker, and he's in great shape. It's been cool to see, and obviously it's still really early, and he's still learning and just coming in a couple of days later than some other guys for the install, so he's just getting his feet wet, but man, he's doing great. Yahoo said He's somehow beating you in jersey sales. Does this mean you have to buy one of his or something? Lonzo, who was it that said just very last week that I promised you Tim Tebow would beat Trevor Lawrence in jersey sales? Who was it that said that?
I think that might have been you, Rob.
This guy. This guy right here. Listen, Trevor fans, I'm not going to call you Jaguars fans, all right? You're not Jaguars fans. You're Trevor Lawrence fans. Can we be honest about that? I've already seen Jag stuff here in the upstate. You are not Jaguars fans. And I say that, Lonzo, as a compliment. You are better than Jaguars fans, all right? You are Trevor fans. You are Travis fans. Heck, you
are they, though?
A Tebow fan.
Are they better than that? I don't know.
As someone who is around Jags fans, yes. Yes.
Okay.
I say with certainty from experience. But Tim Tebow is going to sell more jerseys than Trevor Lawrence. Now, I want you to know that speaks more about Jacksonville fans than it does about Trevor Lawrence, all right? Trevor Lawrence on any other team would be the number one jersey. Any other team would be the number one jersey seller, with the exception of maybe like Tampa, Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers was happy in there. And maybe that's the list. Maybe Seattle, maybe Russell Wilson. But on any team that needed a quarterback and might have drafted TL16, he would have been the number one jersey seller. Tim Tebow selling more jerseys gives credence to the thought process that I had, Lonzo, which is Tim Tebow was brought down to be a shield betwixt TL16 and the hyper criticism of a number one overall pick who lines up under center. The Jags fans are not brilliant football fans, all right? They're not brilliant football. I'm not mean on air except to like 3 franchises, and Jacksonville's one. Jags fans
I just want to say, I am mean on air, and that was mean.
Yeah.
That's pretty mean, man.
And
you are brutal when it comes to Jacksonville.
And I stand by it. They're passionate, but they're not smart fans, all right? They're not. Because, here, let's play a little game real quick, Lonzo. You like Tim Tebow. I would say that you are mildly rooting for Tim Tebow to be successful with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Am I incorrect?
Not mildly. I'm outright rooting for him to be successful in anything that he does.
Fantastic. You are also not a Clemson fan. Ding, 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 ding. Am I correct?
I was just thinking about how much I miss that music, but that would be correct. Yeah, but we can't use it on stream. That takes some of the fun out of it.
That's true. That's true. You're. I would assume. You have.
By the way,
Lawrence, right?
I do want to correct one thing. I'm not a Clemson fan, but I don't hate the team. I am not a. I am
a Clemson fan.
I'm not a Clemson fan. Exactly.
Not a Clemson fan.
For the same reason, apparently, that you're not a Jacksonville fan.
So I'm assuming you don't have any ill will about Trevor Lawrence, right?
No, he's one of mine, and hopefully he keeps the hair. And then if he cuts the hair, that I might have some ill will for a little while, but I'll get over it.
All right. So let me ask you a question, and I'm gonna have you put a paycheck on the line. Paycheck on the line, Lonzo.
By the way, no, you're not. But okay, hypothetically.
Hypothetically, I'm going to have you put a paycheck on the line. Get it right, you double the paycheck. Get it wrong, you lose the paycheck. Who will be more influential for the success of the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2021? Tim Tebow or Trevor Lawrence?
I would have thrown a third one in there, but I guess it doesn't matter. So out of the two choices, I would go with Trevor Lawrence.
Correct. That is the correct player of the two to name there. And yet, whose jersey is selling out of stock as the number one jersey in sales in the National Football League? Timmy Terrific. Jaguars fans are not smart fans. They don't get it.
You know what? I'm just guessing here that all those jersey sales were not sold in Jacksonville. I'm just guessing that maybe they were sold elsewhere, like throughout the United States, possibly the country, maybe even the universe.
Yes, there are Tebow fans everywhere. And considering Tim Tebow has taken on a particular role, I want to say this without being rude or condescending, because it's certainly not intended to be. Tim Tebow has taken on a certain role as a certain face for a certain group of people who feel, with all due respect, incorrectly, that their viewpoints are somehow not welcomed in the National Football League. People feel like, my way of life isn't welcomed in the National Football League, and Tim Tebow is here to be my representative. So yes, there are fans around the country.
You know what? And I would say that you're absolutely wrong, and that he is a representative of this. And this is one thing you and I will fight on forever. And he is looked down upon because of his religion and because of how he professes Christ in front of everyone. He's unashamed of it. And there are people out there saying you can't be a Christian and be a football player. You can't be the things that you are.
Give me one person.
See, I knew you would say that. Now, if I were to research it, I could find plenty of people. I'm sure I could, but I don't understand your anger about it.
It's not anger. It is the fact that, and this is not going to be a long segment, but
dripping with venom, man. Anytime you talk about Tebow, it seems that way.
Here's where the attitude comes from, Zoe. Tim Tebow's not a good National Football League player. He's not good. And then people call and go, you hate him because he's a Christian. No, I don't. Lonzo, let's be real here. If I dislike Tim Tebow because that's who he was, wouldn't I dislike you? Wouldn't I dislike you? Yes, I would dislike you for the same reason.
Probably.
Zoe, have I given you any reason to believe that I dislike
Although I've fallen short every single day, and you're right. You dislike me on Tebow, though.
Yes, because you're doing the thing that I told you people do after I pointed out that they do it.
And I feel like no one else is representing that side, so I'm going to represent that side, even if it causes a rift, because I think that there's too much anger on your side when it comes to Tebow. If anyone brings by causing anger or showing anger over something, it would cause people afraid to actually bring it up because they don't want to be I don't want to say accosted, but come at the way you just came at me. Give me your source. Give me your source. I mean, there's anger there, man.
Claiming that people are saying a thing, and I said who? There's this way of getting.
I just Googled Tim Tebow faith criticism and the amount of stories that are up there, and that doesn't mean that they're correct. But there's obviously it's out there, or there wouldn't be so many stories about it.
Every NFL game I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot in a lot of stadiums, every NFL game I've ever been to begins with teams kneeling to pray in their own end zone and ends with players from both teams kneeling together at midfield in a prayer circle. It happens every NFL game. I have been to hundreds of them. Jacksonville, Tennessee, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Miami, and I have seen a prayer circle at every NFL game I've gone to. It is not an unwelcome viewpoint. The criticism is Tim Tebow's bad at football, and then people go, oh, you hate him because... No, I dislike him because he's bad at football, yet he's elevated to God-tier status in the NFL for some reason, and I don't get it. By the way, because of this conversation, Lonzo, now you have to wait till the next segment to find out if Trevor Lawrence is going to cut his hair or not. That's on you, buddy. You did that. Quick break, back after this on The Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob.
Yes. Thank you, Keegan. Keegan is the the official chaplain of the Rob Brown Show here on ESPN Upstate, says Timmy T and I have similar beliefs, but I consider myself and Rob homies, as the kids say. Keegan and I hang all the time, man. We're boys.
I still don't understand how that's relevant to the conversation.
The
but
accusation against me and people who criticize Tim Tebow is
Rob, it's about your delivery, and it's about the emotion behind it, which could be radio or it could, but I don't think so. This seems to be more you, and it's you're more angry about the accusation than you are if the accusation is real or not. It's like, how dare you accuse anyone of that?
If
and
someone
it's
accused you of racism, Lonzo, would you not be mad and push back against it with diligence?
yeah, I would.
Right, exactly. So,
but not with anger and vitriol. And
here's why. 85% of this country is Christian. 85%. Certainly split up into hundreds of thousands.
You need to look at the latest trends, because that's no longer true. It's a great deal down.
Let's say 75%. That's a conservative estimate. Let's say 75. 3 out of 4 people in this country claim
conservative estimate.
Claim to be Christian. 3 out of 4. That means, and in areas like Greenville, South Carolina, that number is probably closer to 8. Nationally, 75%. I would venture to say in right-leaning right areas, I would argue that it's traditionally closer to 80, 85%. But let's say 75%, even in Greenville, South Carolina. 75% of our audience, Lonzo, is Christian. And what people are saying on the radio, and this isn't just here, this happened to me in Florida. This has been happening in my career for 13 years now. Lonzo, you and other people in my past, and this is why it is something that brings emotion out of me, are telling 75 to 80% of our audience that Rob, because they're much like Tebow and they hold the same viewpoint, Rob is attacking Tim Tebow because of his faith and belief. That means that they are going to feel that I am attacking their faith and belief, which I am not.
I have a tendency to interrupt, obviously, but since the beginning of any Tim Tebow talk, you were waiting, and even when I didn't say it, you thought I said it. So it's not like you're back and you're waiting for it to come. And
talk about was how dumb Jags fans are because they believe Tebow is going to save their team. And
admittedly, I finally gave in. You've been baiting me for a while on this, and I finally said, okay, let me do this, knowing that I'm going to lose from a certain standpoint, but I will do it anyway, just to get it out of the way, because you've been wanting me to do it, so I'm doing it.
I have absolutely not baited you into it.
Real, unfiltered sports talk on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
All right, now we're on to the conversation about Trevor Lawrence you all cared about. Yahoo Sports asked Trevor Lawrence, and I quote, "Is your hair off limits for rookie hazing?" Trevor Lawrence answered with 3 words, Lonzo. He said, "I hope so."
Breaking news, Trevor Lawrence's hair is off.
Oh, it's not up to him. That's not how rookie hazing works.
You're right. But if I were the coach and the owner, and I would put down an edict that this hair is not to be touched.
The golden child shall remain Samson-esque.
Yes, because of
imaging, baby, branding.
Yes, absolutely. You take that away early on in his career with, there are people, there are guys that can't wait. They got all their pictures and everything ready to go. And then you shave his head. That would be bad. Bad for business. Can't do that.
Branding, man. Branding. Yahoo said, "We feel like we caught you in a vulnerable spot right now." Sorry, ? Trevor said, and I'm going to add the inflections of his behavior via Yahoo Sports. Trevor said, "Shoot," runs hand through hair. "I hope I can ride it out a little bit more." Nervous laugh. "There's no telling how long I'll have it. I know my dad has some bald spots, so I might only have it for a few more years, so I need to keep it while I can." End quote.
Now, let me jump in there with, and Trevor, I'm sure you're listening because you listened while you're in. Yeah. I have had those same arguments for a while now, and I've reached 52 and I'm not bald yet. So you got a good shot at it, man. Keep it as long as you can. That's what I've always said. And I've always also said, and this goes for you, Trevor, it's a ready-made comb over. Throw that thing over the top, put a hat on, boom. There you go.
Use it till you lose it, big dog. I have told people many times, Lonzo, my best features are from my eyeballs up, all right? I've got loving doe eyes. I've got a big brain smart, and I got good hair. That's what I got going for. That's basically it. That's what I have going for me. TL16, this doesn't last forever. If a single vet walks in with a pair, speaking of Tim Tebow, do you remember what they did to Tebow for his rookie camp? They cut his hair like a monk. They shaved off the very top, but they left the rim of the hair around all the way around the top of the head. Phenomenal job on the hazing, boys. If TL16 runs out there with like an 80s punk, half-shaved, cyberpunk-looking cut, rookie, man. Being a rookie. It's tough, isn't it? It's tough. All right, a couple of things coming up later on in the show. At 1:20, we do our Greenville Triumph segment. We are going to be joined by a stud, ladies and gentlemen. Marios Lomos is going to join us on the show. Marios is leading USL League One with 5 goals. He has been Player of the Week and was just selected to Team of the Week along with Don Smart and Tyler Polak. Marios Lomos will join us coming up at 1:20. Then at 2:30 this afternoon, we will be joined by Elena Gatzenberg. Elena writes for the Charlotte Observer. She has been at Panthers camp the last couple of days. Elena Gatzenberg will join us at 2:30, and she will give us a firsthand perspective of what Sam Darnold has looked like so far. Quick break, back to wrap up our numero uno. I'm Rob, he's Lonzo. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say play ESPN Upstate.
Super Marios. Yes, dude is scorching hot right now. He is Dutch. He is Dutch. So we'll get his thoughts on living here in the upstate and what the soccer community is like here as opposed to in Europe, where he comes from. Looking forward to that.
So the problem with asking for 3 perfect movies is I've crossed some out and added a different one a couple of times now.
So we started with this is going to be tough to come up with 3, and now it's going to be tough to limit it to 3.
I think so.
You know what's going to be interesting is when we open this up and allow people to start disagreeing with our picks and giving us reasons. Because what's going to happen, so, is somebody's going to call in with a great point about a movie that you think is perfect that is going to just shock your world. That's for both of us.
I don't know. I think if you're adamant, if you are completely behind a movie that it's perfect to you. Again, because it's subjective. What is perfect when it comes to a movie? Is it the feeling that you get every time it's on, or the first time you saw it? Is it you look at it from a director's point of view and you can't find any flaws? You can't find any flaws in dialogue. You can't find any flaws in how it was shot, where it was shot, something like that. What is perfect?
I gotta get a new lighting source in here. All right. And just to be abundantly clear, Steven, this shirt is magenta, not purple. Magenta. There is a difference.
Is magenta more a kind of pink, or is it more a kind of purple?
I argue. So I've got an argument on Twitter from @Rob's Grandma Picks is a Twitter handle someone got specifically for following me and coming at me like this. His definition of magenta is a color that is variously defined as purplish red, reddish purple, or mauvish crimson. On color wheels of the RGB additive and CMY subtractive color models, it is located exactly midway between red and blue.
All right, so I just looked it up. Is magenta pink or purple? Obviously, other people have looked this up. Magenta is color between red and purple or pink and purple.
That's what I thought it was between pink and purple. Here are various websites. So we've got like up there in the left-hand corner.
20 seconds.
Up here in the left-hand corner is a darker. I'd say that's between red and blue. But
It's
right
more like a mauve.
Is right between pink and purple, and that
For
is
GSP,
magenta, which is what I'm
ESPN.
wearing.
Text
It's not
keyword
brown.
ESPN and your message to 71307. Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN Upstate.
Alonzo came up with a game that's being played on Twitter right now, and I'll open up the text line only. The text line only. I don't want to get calls on this, but I'll open up the text line only. The proposition for this little game on Twitter is to name 3 perfect movies. 3 perfect movies. Now, the tough part about this game is that in naming a perfect movie, somebody is going to come through to pick apart one of your 3 favorite movies in a way that may get to you and may ruin the movie for you. They might be, even if you are a huge fan, they might say something that even you, as a giant fan of said movie, cannot overlook. I've had plot holes poked in my favorite movies before that every time I watch a movie from that point forward, I can't not see the plot hole anymore. Zoe and I were going back and forth trying to come up with 3 apiece. My first submission to this list, ladies and gentlemen, and Lonzo, is Tombstone. I did not mean to separate you from gentlemen, by the way. For the record, I did not mean that as an insult, although it absolutely came across that way. My bad.
Yeah, it did. That's fine.
My bad. I did not mean for... All right. Zoe, I am going to place Tombstone on that list as a perfect movie. I know it is not perfectly historically accurate, and that is the biggest criticism of 2 of the movies on my list. But number 1 for me on the list of purple. Oh, my God. Steven's in my head. On the list of perfect movies, Tombstone. goes at the very top for me, Lonzo. That's my first submission.
And I don't disagree. And we've had some conversations off the air, so maybe we won't pick the same movies, but I know you won't pick this one. And I crossed one off to put this back on because I was thinking about it. Now, this may be historically accurate in the future. I'm going with Alien as the perfect movie.
I really don't hate that pick. That was one of the first movies that was like, we are going to psychologically torture you for like 75% of the movie before you even see. You were afraid of something, Lonzo, in that movie. You were afraid of something. You didn't even know if it really existed yet or not. You didn't know if there really was an alien threat, and you were afraid.
And the cool part about it is when you finally saw it, you realize you weren't afraid enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, by the way, the point of that movie, when smart scientist lady says a thing is bad and you should fight it, listen to the smart scientist lady, all right? Everybody who did not listen to smart scientist lady in that movie ended up alien breeding material, all right? So Torian in the stream chat says The Color Purple, great movie, great addition to the list. Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, and Young Guns. None of the prequels are even touching this list for me. None of them. Of the 3 prequels, that was probably the only one that I was like, all right, that wasn't bad.
The Birth of Vader, man. It's, I mean, just even if you dislike the entire thing, just the ending, the birth of Vader and how Palpatine was able to manipulate him to become Vader.
Those of you on the stream, you ready to watch Lonzo turn red? Rogue One was a better movie than all 3 prequels.
That is the most wrong thing you've ever said on these airwaves.
Rogue One was a better Star Wars movie than the 3.
There's no hope. There's no hope.
There was hope. That was literally the title of the next movie was A New Hope because they got hope.
No. It shouldn't have been A New Hope. It should have just been Hope because there was no hope in Rogue One.
Yeah, they wouldn't have done the mission. Oh, it's such a good movie. All right, so text in your perfect movie. Perfect movie. I'm not talking really good. I'm talking perfect movie. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got a bunch of texts to run through. We got more Panthers talk, and Mario Slomas from the Greenville Triumph will join us coming up at 1:20. That's all in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate, WYRD Greenville, WORD Spartanburg, WFBC FM HD3.
An Odyssey station.
All right, I'm going to grab another can of water, which, by the way, comes in a magenta can, Lonzo. Dumb things entertain me. Don't laugh at me. Don't judge me. Don't judge me, Lonzo.
I guess in the end, it's not what you laugh at. It's the fact that you're laughing, which means that something has brought you joy. And that's a good thing, I think.
All right. Tracy, you know why Deadpool is a great movie? Do you know why Deadpool is so good? Aside from the fact that Ryan Reynolds is hilarious in that movie, the reason Deadpool is so good is because of the fact that every time they make one of the classic superhero tropes or plot holes or Deus Machina in that movie, every time they do it, Deadpool just looks at the audience. In fact, there's one line where, I think it's Deadpool 2, but it's pretty descriptive of the entire franchise. There's a point when Cable is talking about how he had 2 charges to travel through time. One charge to get him back to Deadpool's time and 1 charge to take him back to the future. And he looks at Deadpool and he's like, I've got 2 charges. 1 to get me here, 1 to get me back. Right? Which is like, why? Right? They wrote it that way for that, just to create drama. And Deadpool looks at the camera and goes, well, that's just lazy writing. Which is exactly how every other superhero movie works. But
And check this out.
For an official Rob Brown Lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
text line burning up right now. ESPN. Going back to the NASCAR thing real quick. I'm just going to hit all the highlight text to kind of clean them up here. Going back to the NASCAR thing. If you missed the story we opened up with in this segment, Chase Elliott's spotter was arrested before the race at the Circuit of the Americas for beating a woman who was pregnant, and there are 2 separate charges connected to that. One of them, battery on an unborn person. And it didn't make the radar. It didn't find its way into the NASCAR news circuit. And there was no discussion about it from Rick Hendrick Motorsports nor NASCAR. Texter says, at ESPN, this NASCAR thing seems very Baylor LSU-ish. It stinks all around. Yeah, I think sports, whether it's from a program standpoint, Lonzo, or a player standpoint, I think we have gotten to the point where people are now, or are getting, I should say, more and more unafraid of speaking out against powerful athletes and programs who do things that are morally, ethically, or legally wrong, and calling them out in ways that they have to answer for what they did. Now, it doesn't always mean that people get what we think they deserve. The fact that Baylor still has an athletics department is egregious. But look what happened to Les Miles. Les was at Kansas, had a pretty good job for the Rothschild Jayhawk. And after the accusations against him with evidence, began coming out in Baton Rouge, he ended up losing his job at Kansas over it, right? A very cush job that he had there. We have seen athlete after athlete. Deshaun Watson, obviously the most recent and the biggest name in this area that has been added to this list. We are starting to see programs, teams, franchises, and sports learn that these types of things are unacceptable to the public anymore, regardless of who you are, what you do, how you play, and the name on the jersey that you pay for. And you are going to be called to the carpet for it. The fact that NASCAR, and I can only assume here, Lonzo, and maybe it's not fair of me, I acknowledge that, but I can't imagine that a dude got arrested on 2 charges of felony battery, 1 on a woman and 1 on an unborn person, and nobody at Hendrick Motorsports and nobody at NASCAR was made aware of that arrest, knew what happened, and has decided until it broke last night, and I haven't seen a suspension or anything else yet, but decided until it broke last night at 12:30 in the morning on a random Reddit thread from a random Reddit user that this arrest happened, including, by the way, links to the North Carolina Sheriff's Office that made the arrest to prove that it happened, and nobody in NASCAR said or did anything about it. That is going to, I think, Lonzo, blow up in the face of NASCAR, a sport, by the way, which when last year, yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of the death of George Floyd. Last year, NASCAR shocked everybody by being one of the most prominent sports when it came to putting forward a social justice message, banning the Confederate flag, et cetera, et cetera. If NASCAR did indeed cover this up and let this guy work after the egregious atrocity that he committed, or let me rephrase that he allegedly committed, was arrested and charged for, all that goodwill that sport built up is going to be challenged by this revelation on Reddit last night, because it's not okay.
Yeah, this has become a time in the world where people are unafraid to point out things that are going on. That you're right, that before they wouldn't have said anything, because I think it's more fear of repercussions. If you bring something out, well, you're no longer going to have access to something, or you're going to be blacklisted or something, and that's doesn't seem to be a fear anymore.
At ESPN on the text line, 71307, the Ingles Market text line's open. Start your text with ESPN. We can read them on the air. Are you saying Tim Tebow supports Hellman's Mayo and Hellman's supporters are buying the jerseys? No judgment or condemnation there. Just asking. See what he did there, Alonzo? Condemnation, no condemnation. It's a pun, Alonzo. It's a pun. It's a good one.
Well, if you would have read it correctly, it would have been. But you struggled a little bit there. It's not exactly a word.
I've never read the word condemnation before.
Because it's not really a word, but it would have worked.
At ESPN, nobody gives a blank about Tebow, Christian or not. Talk some real blanking sports, end quote. Okay. At ESPN, to Lonzo, Russell Westbrook gave thanks to God when he won the MVP, and I don't recall any backlash at all. Yeah, because that's not the issue. It never has been the issue. At ESPN, enough Tebow bleep. Let's talk about Staal burying an OT winner. Hey, Lonzo, remind me, because my time machine's not working. What did I literally open this show with talking 7 minutes about? Do you recall correctly?
By the way, if you want to know what Rob talked about, get the Odyssey app or go to our website and check out the podcast, which is already posted, by the way. So you can go to the Rob Brown Show, bring that up, and find out exactly that Rob talked about golf, hockey. See, that's what I get for making fun of you not being able to say that word. I can't even say hockey. That Rob talked about hockey for a great length of time till my eyes glazed over.
At ESPN, as a faith-based person, I think the faith community struggles with separating skill and stance. Tim is a great representative of our faith, but not great at football. That's literally all I'm saying. Literally all.
All right. So really what it comes down to, he may not be great at football, but is he good enough to make another team? Because he was good enough to make, some teams before. Does he have to be great? Is it no longer a story if he makes a team and he's just pretty good? If he shows up and he does what a backup tight end should do, is that okay?
Here's where the line gets drawn. If he's a backup tight end and he does well, great. I think one thing that's got lost in this is that I'm pulling for the guy. I hope he does do well. I like him. I've met him. I've hung out with him. Super good dude. I have no issue with him. Here's where you're going to get the conversation going again. If Tebow does what a backup tight end and occasional gadget quarterback does, and he has an okay play here and there, but every time he does anything, it's a SportsCenter top 10 play every week, we're going to go back to the same old, same old. At ESPN.
Wait, real quick. Is that Tebow's fault?
No.
That's not his fault.
Nobody criticizes Tebow. They criticize the media figure that is Tim Tebow.
What I'm saying is, if he shows
up
up on a bunch of highlights or lowlights, depending on what he does, that is the sports media making it into a story where it was just a backup tight end who scored a touchdown or missed an easy touchdown that would have won a game. They make a big deal out of it. That's not Tebow's fault. That's the media's fault because they know how polarizing it is. He is. Why is he so polarizing? Either it's because there's some truth to what we were talking about earlier or not. There has to be truth to it for it to be a story. No. And they're making it okay.
No, with all due respect, Lonzo, I think the frustration here is that people almost create this. People take criticism of Tim Tebow, the football player, and make it criticism of Tim Tebow, the person.
Well, let me say this. Okay, so Tim Tebow's had the opportunity. It was breaking news when we found out that he was had a chance to sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then we heard nonstop from every single sports show on radio, I'm assuming on radio, but definitely on TV, all about why it's a mistake and why, you know what, if some other guy comes back, and there have been guys who've been gone for a couple of years and they make a team, they don't make a big deal about it. Why is such a big deal being made about it? Because they want it to be a story. They want it to be something they can talk about it. They love that it's polarizing. So do we, because that causes debate and it's fun radio. But in the end, is it really a story? This is a guy who's been out of football for a while and he's trying to make his way back. In the end, he may not even make the team. And when he doesn't, there'll be nonstop talk about him for 2 weeks saying, see, we told you he wasn't good enough. Instead of going, yeah, guy didn't make a team, and then move on.
As a person whose job is to make things into compelling narratives to drive listenership, right? That's our job at the end of the day, right? So to take stories, some mundane, some already sensational, and turn them into a compelling discussion. Let me lay this out the best way that I think I can. And I'll tell you that right now, I promise you, this is the last Tebow segment of the day. All right, last one we'll do. And then we got Marios Lomas from the Triumph coming up next. Unless you guys bring it back up. It's your show, not mine. I just have my name on it.
Bring it back up just to
Rob. Here's where it comes down. You are telling me that the team who just drafted number 1 overall, one of the most highly touted quarterbacks in recent memory, a team that was 1-15 and a team that is doing what it can to climb out of that well, brings in a guy who was a below average NFL quarterback who has not played in the NFL in 9 seasons and is going to play him at a different position while trying to climb out of obscurity. That is a story, whether it is Tim Tebow, whether it is, I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, I can't really even think of anybody else that might fit into that mold. But it is a story, whether it's Tim Tebow or a generic ex-quarterback from Missouri who hasn't played in 9 years and now wants to play tight end. It's a story either way, but when it is a figure like Tebow, then yes, it is compelling. That's where it comes from. Another texter says, by the way, to the texter that said nobody cares about Tebow, funny how he has the highest jersey sales in the NFL, end quote. And another texter says, Alonzo is spot on the Tebow thing, end quote.
I love that Alonzo guy. He's right a lot.
Alonzo, good old Alonzo. Like I said, I think it comes down to, and to say this with the least, with zero disrespect intended, although it's going to come across that way. I don't understand why Tebow fans have this persecution complex. Oh, they hate us because we're No, it's not the point. If I want Trevor Lawrence to succeed, I want that roster spot filled out with a guy who is a lock, who's a guarantee. That's it. It's not against Tebow. It's against a mediocre football player on a team that is trying
how
to build
many
a good one around Trevor Lawrence.
How many non-starters are a lock? How many players out there are really, really good and they don't make a team? There are no locks.
Tell me there's no moves the Jazz can make to bring in a veteran tight end who knows how to actually play as opposed to bringing in a street level dude that's never done it before.
Last I checked, and I don't know his name, and no one does probably, they do have a starting tight end, right?
Allegedly.
See, you don't know either.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a moment, the Greenville Triumph remain undefeated with another victory against Tormenta down in Georgia last weekend. The goal scorer, Marios Lomas, will join us coming up in the very next segment to talk a little footy in the upstate with us. That's next on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown.
We are calling Enzo. I am putting that number in your messenger right now.
Okay.
His name is Marios, and he does have, Alonzo, to prepare you. He does have a relatively thick accent. His number is in your inbox.
I heard what you said as I was walking down the hall, so I did catch all that.
Right. Perfect.
I would like to know how to spell the name, though. If you need a chance. I can look it up, though. I'll look it up. Don't worry about it.
It's easy. It's M-A-R. It's Mario with an S. M-A-R-I-O-S.
That's what I thought. Okay.
O-M-I-S. Just one O.
Just to let you know, it's busy.
Well, that's unfortunate. Did you, this is going to be a dumb question, and I don't mean it. Did you put the 1 out in front of the area code? Because I know that has tripped me up multiple times because I am the dumb.
He's standing by, and by the way, you don't have to dial 1 on these phones.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, that's why I couldn't dial when I was doing Mark's show the other day.
Okay. Well, it's improper training, obviously. Seems how you never received any. That's improper. I know. Stinking COVID. All right. Come back.
Hey, Rob can read. So he says. Email Rob Brown at ESPNUpstate.com and we'll put him to the test. This is the Rob Brown Show. Local sports talk on ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. I am Rob Brown. Lonzo at the helm, and to the phone lines we go every Wednesday at 1:20. We feature your reigning, defending, undisputed USL League One champion, Greenville Triumph, to talk a little footy here on the show. And today, we bring in a guy who has been playing the role of Superman for the Triumph so far, leading the attack, 5 goals on the season, and some of them in big-time spots. Some spots they needed a gut out, and Marios Lomas found the net to make it happen. Marios, welcome to the show. Great to have you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Man, I want to talk about the team. I want to talk about the success, undefeated through the first games in the season. But you, my man, you have been red hot at the top of the attack. A goal in, I believe, every game so far. One that was much needed against Tormenta last weekend to get the full 3 points. Talk to me a little bit about the season for you so far, because you have been on a tear, my man.
Well, yeah, we're winning, man. We're undefeated. That's basically what's most important. We're in the top of the league. But yeah, of course, individually, I'm in the flow of scoring Now it's now 4 times in a row, and I mean that's a great feeling as a striker. Don't get me wrong, but it's. I mean, we have a just good team, and we have a good team that can, even when it's not going well, like against Tormenta, we weren't playing well particularly, but we grinded it out and we got a win. I was in a good spot to get the ball from Don Smart, good assist, and I just finished it up, and I got 3 points in the bag, pretty much.
Love it. Marius Lomos, forward for the Greenville Triumph, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So you are relatively new to the team, just got here in March. I mean, you know what the Triumph had accomplished the 2 years previous, going to the USL League One Championship 2 years ago, coming up one match short. Last year, hoisting the hardware for the first time. You knew that this team was expecting to make a run at another title and going back-to-back. You knew that this team had high expectations. Was there any pressure for you when you got signed to the club to come in and be the new guy and lead that attack from the front, or was it something you were prepared and ready to take on?
Yeah, I was prepared. I wouldn't say I felt some pressure with it. I mean, I just go out, I work hard and show quality. That's what I choose to do. This profession, I like to show quality. I like to showcase myself. So in that sense, there was no pressure. At the same time, I had a lot of confidence in this team, like speaking with John Harks before signing to Greenville. I watched some videos as well, and there was just a very good chemistry about this team, like having reached the finals the first year in 2019 and winning it in last year, 2020. I just felt this team can really set high standards and just go win another league. And under the leadership of the organization and John Harks as the coach, I thought I'm ready for this challenge to just get another one of that championship for Greenville Triumph. Yes, sir.
Marius Loma, striker for the Greenville Triumph, undefeated on the season, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. So this team was a team that last year on the way to the championship had very good chemistry, but they lost a couple of guys, added a couple of guys, Dom Smart, handful of other guys. Talk to me a little bit from your perspective about building the chemistry of this team back under Coach Harks. What was it like to get here, to work with these guys who were so close-knit last year, and to integrate yourself into a club that was already known for being tight-knit? How's that process been for you?
Yeah. No, it's been very well. It's been a positive experience because the guys on the team, they really welcomed you from the first day in. And that's really important as a new player. And when you have that confidence and that welcome feeling, you can just, it eases the process more. And no, it's just, there's also like a lot of quality in the team. So from the pitch perspective, finding the chemistry, like linking up plays with the players just went very easy. And at the same time, Coach John Harks is really adamant about like finding each other's feet, finding each other's strength. So that's been a really good process with this team. I mean, I've only positive things to say about that.
Marius Lomas from the Greenville Triumph joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So you guys remain undefeated, a full 3 points at Tormenta this past weekend. Got a couple of home matches at Legacy Early coming up in June, just a couple of days away. For this season so far, I mean, again, the expectations, Marius, I know were high coming into the year, but as the defending champion, you are going to get the best shot from every team that you play, whether it's North Carolina or Tormenta or Union Omaha, the runners-up from last year. You are going to get the best shot because everybody wants to take down the team that has the title. Have you felt that elevated competition on the pitch when taking on these teams? And do you feel like you guys have kind of adjusted to knowing that you're going to get everybody's best effort? Has there been any sort of change in the way that you guys do things, knowing that every game is going to be an absolute banger for you?
No, I get what you're saying. Like, that's also with winning teams. You cannot get complacent. for sure. Like, you're on an undefeated run and you want to keep that run. But yeah, at the same time, the opponents will just have a little extra bite of the eagerness of beating like the champions or the unbeaten team. For now, I mean, the teams that we had, or last Saturday, for example, against Tormenta, they were sitting pretty deep in their own half, and that's almost like a respect to us, that because they know we can play. And I think we as Greenfield, we need to make sure that we are able to put teams apart, playing them apart when they sit deep. And we work on that for sure in training. Just we are a possession-based team. And we want to keep the ball, but we want to go hard going forward as well. And I think that's for us the challenge, in really be dominant while playing the games. And yeah, we work hard for that every day in training to reach that level and just have this unbeaten flow, this unbeaten success go as long as possible.
Marios Lomas join us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So Marios, I'll ask you, and I've asked this of all the players we've had on the last few weeks, and I know that you weren't part of the team last year that won the championship, but I also know you've been a massive part of what's been done and the success on the pitch so far this season. When I talked to John Harkes and Chris Lewis, president of the team, both going into this season, one of the things that both of them said to me is that the mentality of this team is not that we want to go out and defend the USL League Championship. It's that we want to go out and win another one. It is not a defend but attack mentality. Do you feel like John Harkes has instilled that mentality into the team? Does it make you feel like you guys have a little more flexibility to go out there and be aggressive as opposed to sitting back and waiting for teams to come to you?
Oh, 100%. I think from day one we said it, and they have installed that mentality on us, and you can see that in training. Like, even the win on Saturday, it wasn't good enough. So this week of training where we are off on Saturday, we still want to be like, make use of the opportunity of training, of getting better and being that dominant side that keeps possession and not just wins 1-0, but can get the second one, get the third one, have dominant wins 3-0. And that goes along with not just defending the title, but we're chasing the second one. We're not just sitting back, but we want to really be aggressive in that respect. Yes, for sure.
So we have seen with your 5 goals across the season, we have seen a variety of different styles. We have seen you shoot across. I mean, you had a goal against Union Omaha that crossed the angle that you took on that shot, I've watched it 10 times, and I still don't understand how you were able to get that ball onto the far side of the net. In the dream goal for you, what is your best style of attack? What's the dream goal? Do you prefer a one-on-one setup? Do you prefer an aerial ball in the box? Do you prefer going one-on-one down one side or the other? What is the preferred style of attacking for Marios Lomas?
Well, my dream goal, I would say, is a bicycle kick. I've done that since I was a young boy playing the game. Scoring bicycle kicks was my specialty, in the sense that was the thing I really love to do. And I had one in the preseason. So unfortunately, that it's not. Well, it's on tape, but it's not broadcasted. So I hope this season to get like a good bicycle kick in. But then again, I mean, I'm a player that's active in the box, so I have height. I'm 6'2", so I can be an aerial threat as well. But just good service in the box is a thing I thrive on. Like, that's my bread and butter. If I have good service in the box, first post, far post, headers, tap-ins, that's my go-to as a striker. But then again, I can take also defenders one-on-one and just curl the balls far corner, a little outside of the 18. That's also my the quality I have.
When you had that shot lined up against Tormenta, you had the defender kind of crossed up with his hips outside. You had the goalkeeper just a touch off his line, and you saw the back far side corner was open. Did you know that was in as soon as you let it go? Like, when you kicked that, did you know it was going in?
Yeah, it was. I have to say, like, in football, like the first touch is everything. And the ball that I got played in by Don Smart was just perfect weight. I touched it with like my sole, so to say, underneath my foot, and it just was in a perfect stride where I had the time to put my body around the ball and just curled it because I saw the far side wide open. And once it came off my foot, I saw the ball just curling in the far corner. So I already knew that this ball was going in.
Love it. Marios Lomas joining us on the Rob Brown Show. All right, Marios, last question. Sir. We had Dallas J on last week, and Dallas broke the internet because he said that he was considering cutting his hair before we got to the summertime months. The women of the Rob Brown Show audience were not pleased. The producer of the Rob Brown Show was not pleased. So I'm gonna get you to cut you. I'm gonna get you on two questions. Number one, should Dallas leave the hair long, or does he have your permission to cut it? And two, who has the best hair on the side?
Oh, I will tell Dallas not to cut it after the season, after we get the championship. That was my advice to Dallas. So it's not my permission.
That's fair. That's fair. You know what? That's fair. I accept that. I know he wants to chop it off for the hot summer months. I know. But I think at this point it's a luck thing. It's a luck thing. You don't want to cut it because I have bad experiences cutting my hair and getting seriously injured after losing all my strength. There's also a story in the Bible. There's a story in the Bible. I forgot the name of it. But Samson. Yeah, the story of Samson.
Is it Samson? There we go. Story of Samson. Yeah, you don't want to cut your hair. That's where your strength is. Then he lost all his power.
So who has the better hair, you or Dallas J?
I mean, I got longer hair for sure, and it took me a couple of years to grow it out. So I would say my hair is better.
Love it. Love to hear. Listen to the confidence. Marios Lomas, 5 goals on the season for the undefeated Greenville Triumph. He has been Player of the Week, was selected this week to the Team of the Week along with Don Smart and Tyler Polak. Very, very good to have you on the show, Marios. Enjoyed it tremendously, bud. Look forward to getting you back on real soon.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate the River Riot, and also when they were at the Tormenta game. That's good to have, like, even at away games. That's huge for us to have the support, and we feel that. That's great.
Absolutely. Marios Lomas representing the Greenville Triumph. Marios, thank you very much, bud. We'll get you back on real soon. Quick break. We are back after this. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate from the Ingalls Market.
He straight up said, I have better hair than Dallas J.
Hey, when you know you have better hair, you gotta say it.
As somebody who knows he has better hair than most people, I take what I can get, Zoe. He also said, I am going to tell Dallas that he does not have my permission to cut his hair. Oh, that was good stuff. That was good stuff.
You have a Prisma in the next break.
Prisma of the Upstate.
You can quit trying to bring the trouble back up.
Oh, I saw that. Hey, listen, I think you would be, I don't know, pleasantly surprised or impressed by my depth of knowledge of said topic.
I'm not, because, when I brought up certain bands and you knew who they were, and I don't think it was just you nodding, not that they have any. I'm not surprised. You mentioned youth groups. How could you be in a youth group and not know Samson? By the way, Far Cry 6 is dropping a gameplay reveal Friday.
I think Far Cry, though, is probably the only franchise that I can. But that's not true. Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and the Arkham series are probably the only franchise that I like keep up with in real time and play every game as they drop.
Far Cry is one of those games where Cameron and I played together the first time to beat the whole thing too.
Considering most of the Far Cry games end in pretty drastically negative situations, and the feeling of Rogue One, though, I'm surprised you're fans of that game.
I don't. I mean, games and movies are totally different.
Okay, all right.
I think games are more about. I played a bunch of Square Enix games. You can't play a Square Enix game and not be ready for a horrible, tear-jerking ending. That's all they do. It could be the happiest thing in the world. One Final Fantasy I put aside. I never beat it. I finally went back and beat it, and every sneaking person died at the end. And I'm just like, yeah, I can see it coming. And it's Square Enix, so I'm not surprised. I do like Far Cry. Really funny that Aleister Black is really going a Far Cry type.
Straight up Joseph Seed, right?
When he said, no, he said, as Father said, cull the herd. And I'm just like, yes, good.
Yeah.
You know, Seth Rollins had shades of it a little bit with his thing.
The initial Monday Night Messiah.
Yeah, but Aleister Black is straight up playing this.
Here's the thing. I'm
20 seconds.
I'm in the hole about that one because I thought Aleister Black's character pre this one was one of the greatest characters I've seen in a very long time. It's like a true to life Undertaker. And then
I loved the dragon armor was so cool.
Opinions wanted.
Well, opinions are like, we'll say, everybody has one.
Call 844-GSP-ESPN. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate. Thanks to Mario Lomas for joining us in that last segment to talk a little hockey with it, or a little. I just pulled a lot of talk a little soccer with us as a triumph after a 1-0 victory on the road, get the full 3 points and remain atop the USL League One table. Very, very happy to see the results that they're getting right now. The full 13 points. They are on top of the table. Union Omaha right now has 10 points. Now, Omaha has also played one fewer game so far than the Triumph. So if Omaha was to snag the full 3 points in their next match, then courtesy of each team being 4-1-0 with 4 and a draw to their name, and of course that draw being against each other, they would share the top of the table. Enter Miami, the Richmond Kickers, 9 and 7 points. The Red Wolves have 7. North Texas with 6. Ford Madison and New England Revolution 2 have 4 apiece. Toronto 2 and Tormenta have 3 apiece. And North Carolina FC and Tucson each have 1 point, courtesy of a pair of draws. But a lot of those teams have played fewer games. The Red Wolves have only played 3. Ford Madison only 2. Toronto 2's only played 1 match so far. And North Carolina and Tucson have only played 3 matches, though both of them have 2 L's and 1 D beside the name after that. All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us at 71307 on the Ingalls Market text line. We will read those texts out loud. Start it with ESPN so we can read it on the show. Also remind you that coming up at 2:30 on the button, 2:30 on the button, Elena Getzenberg is going to be joining us here on the radio broadcast. Elena was actually at yesterday the Panthers' first on the field OTA. She was one of the first from the Charlotte Observer, one of the first to actually get her eyeballs firsthand on new quarterback Sam Darnold. So we are going to talk to Elena Getzenberg coming up at 2:30 this afternoon as we head towards the end of the show. Also let you know that I am off on Friday. Cole Bryson will be filling in for me, so I'll be here today and tomorrow, off on Friday. Then we are all off next Monday for Memorial Day weekend. So a little 4-day action for you, boy. But Cole will be in for me on Friday. Lonzo will be here with you're in on Friday, right, Zoe? I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can't wait to having 3 wonderful hours with Cole Bryson.
Yeah, I like Cole. Cole's a good dude. And Cole, I'm looking at you dead in the face metaphorically, Diesel. Cole, unlike the dude in our building who literally runs a fishing channel on YouTube with tens of thousands of viewers, Cole, Lonzo, has offered to take me for my first fishing experience here in the upstate. Cole has told me repeatedly that he's going to get me out and set me on some stripers sometime in the very near future. Diesel, thanks for nothing.
See, at first I'm like, why is he saying, looking in the camera at Diesel? Is he calling me Diesel again? But no, you're going right at the fisherman on the show, or on the station. Fishing. Yeah. A wonderful YouTube channel. Check it out. Obviously,
he's a better angler than everybody else in South Carolina, but can't hook his boy up with a trip.
Maybe he's haughty when it comes to his fishing. Maybe he's a fishing elitist, and maybe he doesn't believe you're of the caliber that deserves to go with him on a,
We're not worthy. Swain's World, Lonzo. Real quick.
Did you really just say that to me like I didn't know what it was?
No, I just like pointing out when I do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't necessary, but okay.
Yeah, well, you gotta do. All right, let's take a real quick break. We'll come back here in just a minute, wrap up hour number 2. Couple of stories that we have got to get into and through. But when we come back, are we going to talk hockey? You're damn right we're going to talk hockey. You wanted it. You asked for it. You got it. Canes, Preds, 3-2 series leads for Carolina. But every home team has won in this series so far, and they go back to Vegas for Game 6. Can they disrupt the pattern, put this thing away, and earn a couple of days of rest? We'll talk about that next on The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
I just screwed up, and you need to do Prisma here. Do it after the weather in 15 seconds.
Okay. If you want to play the audio so I can hear it so I don't miss the cue, that's fine.
And Friday, slight chance for storms, late high of 90, and cooler for the weekend. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 88.
Prisma Health. They want to be the official healthcare providers for your family. They do. They're already the official healthcare providers for the Clemson Tigers. Oh, and the University of South Carolina Gamecocks. That's right. The 2 D1Us in the school that agree on nothing at all ever, both agree that when they need a healthcare provider for their athletes, top-tier athletes, Prisma Health is who they check in with. They have over 2,400 medical providers within their network. They have locations all around the Midlands and the Upstate so that you're never too far, and they want to make it easy for you. So not only do they offer the MyChart service, which keeps all of your healthcare information right there, streamlined efficiently, so that you and your doctor can see everything you need to know about where you stand and make it all ready access for you. But on top of that, if you are struggling with your schedule, you just don't have time to go sit and wait for a doctor's appointment. If you are locked into your spot, maybe you're not somebody who can leave the house right now, or it's tough to. Maybe you got kids and nobody to watch them, so you can't drag them to a doctor's office. Well, they also offer virtual appointments as well. You can set up a virtual appointment at prismahealth.org, and you can see your doctor virtually over the computer screen, so you don't have to go anywhere, even though they have multiple convenient locations. Go to prismahealth.org to learn more. prismahealth.org. You can see all of the ways that Prisma is looking after you and making it as easy as you can to stay on top of your healthcare needs. It's our friends at Prisma Health right here in the Upstate.
It's the Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports USA.
Hi, Miss Lisa.
One minute.
1 minute.
Text us anytime at 71307. Use keyword ESPN followed by your comment. Local sports talk on The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate 97.7 FM, Greenville 97.1 FM, Spartanburg, and all around the world on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Download it now and don't miss a moment of the Rob Brown Show with me and Lonzo, Offsides with Diesel and Mark Ryan, and all of our tremendous programming around the clock. AUDACY. It's also your home for all the audio that you could possibly need, from podcasts to entertainment to music to movies to sports and more. It's all available for you on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Download it now. Throw it up on your PC, on your laptop, wherever it is that you watch the sports and make it a part, listen to the sports, I should say, and make it a part of your day. 844-477-3776, 844-GSP. ESPN is the number to be a part of the program. Last night, we had game number 5 and a freaking great one it was between the Canes and the Preds. Jordan Staal, my man, has been Mr. freaking clutch in this series so far, and he does it again last night. The home team is 5-0 in this series so far, and Game 6, they head back to Nash Vegas, home of the Preds, Bridgestone Arena, and man, this is a spot that Carolina needs to come up big. Put this thing away, because the more chances you give it, the more likely it is the home team is ultimately going to flop and drop one. So make it you and not them that bucks the trend, all right? Look, Juice Saros, the starter for the Nashville Predators, has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. But the good news is Nedeljkovic has been very good in goal for Carolina as well. And was last night. I mean, he got a couple of pucks flung at him in that overtime period before the pass in from Staal. Saros tries to clear it. Unfortunately for him, he does not get a great handle on the puck. He just, instead of flinging it down the ice, just kind of pops it up in the air. It rattles around in front of the keeper. Johansson moves past it. Staal, as the puck is bouncing about 6 inches off the top of the ice, just kind of baseball swings at it and gets it to go. Now, here is what was interesting. That overtime period probably shouldn't have been needed. Second period of that game last night in Raleigh, it appeared that Carolina got a game-tying goal through a rugby-like scrum in front of Juicy Saros. But after it was in, after it was called a goal, Predators coach John Hines used a coach's challenge for the first time all season and said that it should have been goaltender interference. They sent the replay back up to a replay review room in Toronto. Hurricanes forward Warren Foegele makes incidental contact with Saros before the puck bounces. Saros is boxed in by Roman Josi as the puck flies into the net. After review, the goal was waved off because it was deemed that Saros' ability to play the puck was impaired by his opponent, and a 2-1 lead for the Preds return to the scoreboard. It was a very, very, very dramatic moment there in Raleigh last night, and one that, frankly, I thought should have likely not. I didn't think it should have been goaltender interference. I agree that Foegele was right there in front of Saros. It looked to me like a two-man screen, but then you had two different Predators players come in, Roman Josi being one of them. Josi got around Foegele. The puck was played. Saros was on the right side of the box. The puck was played over towards the left-hand side of the box, and while Foegele was in front of Saros, Roman Josi got on his left side, and he just kind of got rattled around a little bit. He ended up, when Foegele got pushed back by Roman Josi, they both kind of floated back. Saros decided to take a step to the right. They showed the overhead cam, and he clearly takes a slide over to the right. The puck crosses the goal, goes over to the left when it's sent into service, ends up knocking off of one of the skates of one of the other Hurricanes players before it careens in. I don't think there was anything that prevented the goalkeeper. I don't think there was anything that prevented Juicy Saros from sliding back across, except a Predators player. It was Roman Josi that was between Saros and where the puck went in. So I don't think that goal should have been waved off personally, but heck, maybe, perhaps, perchance, I'm just a little biased here. Even though I'm a Preds fan, let's be real, it's better for my paycheck if the Canes win. Anyway, Game 6, we head back. Again, the boys are playing well so far. the Carolina Hurricanes are. But they are good. Here's the thing. I don't want to stay in a spot. I don't want to stay in a spot where I require Jordan Staal to be a hero in overtime every single game. And that's basically what's happened so far. I don't want to be in a spot where where Staal has to be a hero or they lose. That's a tough spot to put yourself in. But we know this game is going to be. These teams were in the same division this year. They played each other a lot. Remember, their last two games going into both teams, last two games going into the Stanley Cup playoffs were against each other. They know each other. They know tendencies. They know what they like to do in certain spots. And now with 5 playoff games between them, they're only all that much more familiar with each other. This is going to be a gutted out game. This is going to be, and the Preds are a team that like to skate around and hit a little bit. This is a game that the Carolina Hurricanes need to jump out early. And look, they've had a couple, actually both teams have had a couple of games where they've jumped out very early. It was a game, game 4, Nashville scored in like 57 seconds and it ended up being a double OT game, right? It's not just enough to score, but you've got to score and demoralize early if you're Carolina. You have to. You have to. All right, coming up in the next hour of the show, when we open it up, sports don't always have to have big-time championship matches to be fun. There is something that I'm very excited about taking place in early July, and it leads me back to a conversation that Zoe and I had earlier in the week about another event that maybe doesn't mean all that much. I'm still in because sports are great. That's coming up next on The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate. That little ditty had a kind of cool little bass walk down there, Zoe.
I'm a fan of the bass.
Slap it a bass. Here's a weird question. Do your ears get sweaty under your headphones?
They have, yes, absolutely.
I used to have the big, like the over-the-ear cans, and I had to switch to the low-profile ones because they were just too high. What a first-world problem to complain about. My ears are sweaty.
Yeah, it's about time for me to pick up some more headphones because my the pads are getting cracked.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to get bloody. You have a golf cart in the first break.
Warning.
And check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Brown, Lonzo, and you here on the show. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with us and letting us hang out with you. Let's go to this. It has been announced, ladies and gentlemen, that the match has returned July 6th. We will get our next match, and the names are there as well. We are once again going to have two Super Bowl winning quarterbacks battle off. Lonzo, speak about drama. Aaron Rodgers didn't have the time or the patience to show up for the Green Bay Packers OTAs. And as a side note, and in something we're going to get to here in just a minute, he's not the only big name star. Devontae Adams and almost the entire wide receiver crew have elected not to show up to OTAs, I assume, in support of A-Rod of the football persuasion, which puts a little more credence on the premise of, maybe you switch the GM, not the QB, right? But we'll come back to that in a minute. However, Aaron Rodgers is going to be paired up with Bryson DeChambeau to play the match part, whatever we are on now. 4, 3, I don't remember. Less than a week after Phil Mickelson won his 6th major title and became the oldest major champion at 50. He's 50. Phil Mickelson will team up once again with Tampa Bay quarterback Tom Brady to take on Bryson DeChambeau and Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers at the Reserve at Moonlight Basin in Big Sky, Montana. It'll be July 6th at 5 o'clock in the evening. Turner Sports and Warner Media partnering up with event organizers to make it happened. Mickelson foreshadowed another match on Sunday after his victory when he complimented Brady for inspiring him during an interview. And then when Brady later on tweeted to congratulate Phil, Mickelson responded with, quote, we have some unfinished business. Let's get into the match and find another pair to give a beatdown. Brady then continued to taunt Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau on social media on Tuesday when he tweeted out a meme. So yesterday, Lonzo, by himself, without any input from me, played a clip from the Golf Channel of Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka was doing an interview with the Golf Channel when Bryson DeChambeau, a noted adversary of his, walked by wearing his golf spikes. And as he did, Brooks just kind of stopped and closed his eyes in that look of frustration that you give when your kid breaks something in the house. You know, you've been there, Zoe. You hear glass shatter on the other side of the house, and you have no idea what it is or who did it, but you know something bad happened. And instead of just getting up and storming to that side of the house, instead you take just a minute, you drop your head down, you close your eyes, and you just take a deep breath. I know that look out of parents, Lonzo, because I made my parents do that look many times.
Yeah, I especially will give that look depending on what room that sound is coming from.
Yup. If it comes from the game room, that look and that breath are going to be just a little bit deeper.
Absolutely.
After Bryson walked by, Brooks said, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought dealing with that bull bleep. A segment that Lonzo unashamedly played live on the air here.
Yeah, and I'm not going to disparage the Golf Channel in any way because I don't want to get flagged again. Also correct.
So Brady, trying to take himself to meme god levels, sent out a new meme template of that moment with Brooks, his eyes closed, his head down in a moment of frustration, and over Brooks from Tom Brady, Lonzo, over Brooks is the caption, Aaron realizing he has to spend the whole day with Bryson, and in the back with Bryson walking by is the caption, Bryson just happy to be here, end quote.
So what you're saying is that Tom Brady is a Twitter troll. Wow. That's surprising, Rob.
As if I needed a reason to like Tom Brady even more. He has decided to enter his name into the Twitter troll game with the meme that I am currently displaying on the Facebook stream. So if you're not there, one more reason to get in because you miss awesome stuff like Tom Brady's tweet. All right. Anyway, Brady also tweeted out, quote, 2 old guys against the Young Bucks, Phil Mickelson. Bryson DeChambeau better get used to laying up because we know Aaron Rodgers isn't going for it. Laughing emoji. Mickelson responded, true that, partner. DeChambeau then said on the gram, can't wait to unleash the beast in Big Sky. Get your popcorn ready. This is going to be epic. End quote. So I know you're not a Brady guy, and I know you're not the world's biggest golf guy. You're tuning in for this, right? You're tuning in to watch Phil and Tom v. Aaron and Bryson. You got a dog in that fight.
Is it on pay-per-view?
No.
Okay.
It's just on regular old cable TV.
I might tune in for it, and I will hopefully, because after last time, Phil Mickelson should never be allowed to talk trash on the air, period. I mean, it's okay to do it on Twitter, but actually trying to – there are some people that are not good at some things. He is horrible at it. So he should let Brady do all the talking when it comes to that stuff, and just to sit back and play your game and throw out a message on Twitter here and there, but do not talk. I don't know if Bryson DeChambeau can talk stuff on the mic. We know Aaron Rodgers is good, but Mickelson, stay off the mic.
From this point forward, whenever Lonzo says something I agree with, I'm just going to say, true that, partner. That's my new go-to. Along with bleep you, Aaron Rodgers. Those are the new go-to phrases. Here's the thing, and this connects to a story that we talked about yesterday on the show, right? And that is the mid-season tournament that the NBA is looking into. The NBA is looking into running a tournament during the regular season around the halfway point that would see the top 8 teams in the NBA play a single elimination tournament with a mid-season tournament champion to be crowned. And, Lisa, we said, would you, as a fan, be into that? And my answer was not just yeah, but hell yeah, absolutely. More basketball is good. More basketball is good. More basketball is a good thing for basketball. And even if it's just a little trophy and a couple $1,000s added onto the paycheck of the team that wins the tournament, that's high-level competition. And I'm 100% here for it, especially if it has some sort of incentive in the playoff, which if they give it some sort of incentive in the playoff, gives these guys an even bigger reason to play, right? Like that was the premise that the Major League Baseball folks went with a couple of years ago when they went with the winning league in the All-Star game then gets home field advantage in the World Series, right? If the AL or NL win the All-Star game, the AL or NL get home field advantage in the World Series regardless of record. And it put a little something on the game. Now, it didn't really work all that much because I don't think they took into consideration the fact that guys from teams who had no World Series hopes probably didn't care all that much. But it was an idea. It was an effort. And I respected the effort. I respected that they tried something. There is the opportunity here to make this mean something more than just a regular tournament. But the point is, not every sport event, Lonzo, to me, not every sport event needs to have a championship attached to the end of it to be compelling. Bryson and Aaron v. Phil and Brady, 2 of those guys aren't even professional golfers, but Phil outdrove Bryson DeChambeau at the PGA Championship. You don't think Bryson is going to be bringing out the big stick to try to put Phil back in second place in Big Sky? You don't think that Aaron Rodgers, a guy betwixt another Super Bowl came Tom Brady, doesn't have some interest? And if this is the only way he can get revenge on Tom Brady, keeping him out of the Super Bowl last year, you don't think Aaron Rodgers got a little bit of athletic pride that wants to put Tom Brady down at something since he can't do it on the football field? So I don't need a championship attached to make sports compelling. July 6th is circled on the calendar at 5 p.m. because the boys are back.
I am looking forward to this, and I am curious who will Aaron Rodgers be playing for at that moment in time?
Himself?
No, I mean, what football team will he be playing for?
Gotcha. I was at a watering hole last night, and I had a guy walk up to me. He knew who I was because I do some stuff at this bar here and there for funsies. And this guy walked up and he said, "Rob." So
it had nothing to do with you being the star of the Rob Brown show.
No, I mean, he knew it. Like, people at this bar now, I host trivia on the side for fun, right? Just something I do for fun. And so they know who I am from the radio, but they know that I am me because I do the trivia. So anyway, this guy walks up and he walks up and he says, "Rob Brown," he says, "Hey man, I'm a I don't even want to ask you this. I'm a Packers fan. Who's Aaron Rodgers going to be playing for next year?" And I said, "My man, I'm so sorry. I don't think it's going to be Green Bay." And he looks and he says, "Yeah, that's what I thought." And he just walks out of the door. He just leaves the bar, Lonzo. No conversation. No thanks for chatting. No appreciate the input. He goes, "Yeah, that's what I thought." And just leaves. Just gone.
Well, what'd you expect him to do? I mean, just hang around and just argue with you? Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? I mean, when you get the news that you already know the answer to and you just want professional confirmation and then you just get it, what's the point of sticking around?
To add to the Twitter troll game, Lonzo, because I know you're a fan, Stathakis just sent me a screenshot from Tom Brady's Instagram that says, quote, "2 champions versus a scientist and a Jeopardy host."
By the way, I am seeing all this Tom Brady stuff all over my Twitter, so I had already seen that, and I thought that was pretty good, actually.
Love it.
But there are people out there who do not believe that Tom Brady is actually in charge of his social media accounts. They think someone else is doing it.
You know how I've had that thing, though, about I only accept things as true that can be demonstrated as true? I'm breaking that. Tom Brady is totally saying these things. Tom Brady is totally dropping these bombs.
Would they still be as funny if it wasn't him?
I mean, they'd still be funny, but not in the same way, like not to the same level as if Brady was sitting there with his iPhone in his hand trying to come up, what's the next barb I can throw at A-Rod to get under his ribs? Oh, yeah, I'll remind him that I beat him to go win a Super Bowl, and he's playing with a guy with 0 majors, and he's playing 2 old men who are riddled with rings and trophies. In my mind, Tom Brady is dropping these nukes on Aaron Rodgers out of the goodness of his own heart, Lonzo.
And in my mind, he's sitting in the left wing of his estate, calling his social media team and saying, "We gotta get something else out there. Come on, snap his fingers. Gotta get something else out there, something quick." That's what I think.
Look at the depths to which Lonzo is willing to go to absolutely drop one on Brady. You got to respect it, boys and girls. You got to respect it. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, little bit of breaking news out of the world of the MMA that I want Lonzo's reaction to. Then at 2:30, we will be joined by Elena Getzenberg of the Charlotte Observer. She, one of the first to put eyes on firsthand, Sam Darnold, new quarterback of the Panthers. We'll talk to her about that at 2:30 on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
Golf card.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
The 2021 Upstate Golf Card is available now and through Memorial Day. It is on sale, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. Ordinarily $99, which is already an incredible deal for 9 rounds of golf at 9 beautiful courses around the upstate. But through Memorial Day, it is on sale for just $75. $75 is getting you 9 rounds of golf at 9 beautiful courses right here in our own backyard. Spring is here. The weather is absolutely gorgeous. It's going to stay that way, and there's no better outside activity than getting a little golf in. So go to upstategolfcard.com, upstategolfcard.com. Grab yours now at upstategolfcard.com. $75 through Memorial Day. Get one for you, for the dad, for the mom, for the family, for the friends. Give yourself an excuse, a reason to get out of the house and play a little golf. Go to upstategolfcard.com to get yours. Upstategolfcard.com. It's the 2021 Upstate Golf Card.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, powered by The Score.
Keegan asked, Rob, can you do the show live from Panthers training camp? Can we? Yes, we can do the show live from pretty much anywhere. Will we? Zoe and I are busting hump to make it happen. I will tell you guys that the conversation with upper-level management has been had. They are interested in doing it. Right now, we are waiting to see what the protocols from the Panthers are going to be. We got to find out the Panthers are, I'm assuming if the Panthers are coming down for camp, they're going to let that happen. Otherwise, they just do the camp up in Charlotte. But if the Panthers protocols allow it, and then our corporate protocols allow it, then yes, we will likely get out there. I know the upper management folks said they'd like to at least be out there for the first couple of days of training camp. I would be fine to go every day. I love being able to go watch and put eyes on the team. It'll give us a much better impression of what we're going to look at in the fall. But Zoe, I think the safe answer right now is we are definitely trying.
All right. So since the beginning of the station, generally we're out there at least one day. And it is different with COVID and everything. And 2 years ago, Mark and I were out there, and they put us in the college basketball arena out in the foyer, or whatever you want to call that.
It's a foyer.
Okay, it's in South Carolina. It's a foyer.
Foyer.
It's a foyer. And yeah, I know. I'm reminded often. So we were out there, and they brought the guests to us, and then it was Fan Fest, and then we were able to go out and watch the first practice and interact that way. So I'm sure that will happen. A couple years before, Greg McKinney, before he retired, he and I were out at, I believe it was Wild Wings, and then we went over to the Fan Fest afterwards. So we'll either be on campus doing it or possibly somewhere around there doing it. But more than likely, since the wheels are a turning, we will be there if the Panthers allow media.
Fingers crossed.
The worst part about it, though, is having to wear that black ESPN Upstate shirt out in the middle of that heat, because it's as they say, first world problems. It's hot, man. It's absolutely hot. Especially rough with that material. I don't know why that most station shirts are that material, when most people who work in radio don't need to wear that kind of material for a lot of reasons.
Two that are prominent when it's chilly. I worked at a station back in Florida one day, Zoe, that made us wear cotton, like thick cotton polos. Those were the only ones we could get, were thick cotton polos. It was nuts.
Well, for a while, my shirts always ended up being 2 sizes too small, even though I asked for them different, and I think that was management. I think they thought it was hilarious, but, which if it wasn't me, it would have been. 30 seconds. Although I still have a 5X WORD jacket. I will put it on occasion, just to remind myself. Yep.
Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
Breaking news. Eddie DeHaan, Chase Elliott spotter, we talked about him back in the first hour, has been suspended by NASCAR and Hendrick Motorsports after his domestic violence arrest. DeHaan was arrested earlier this month in Catawba County. That's not too far from here, right, Zoe? Catawba? It's in North Carolina, but isn't it relatively close? Anyway, charged with battery of an unborn child and assault on a female. According to online North Carolina judicial records, he faces a pair of court dates next month. Hendrick Motorsports issued a statement saying it had learned of DeHaan's arrest Wednesday and suspended him indefinitely, quote, from his role in our company, end quote. NASCAR also suspended DeHaan for his conduct and for failing to report the arrest to NASCAR within the required 72 hours. He has been Elliott's spotter since the 25-year-old driver joined the Cup Series with Hendrick Motorsports, including last week when Elliott won the road event at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Hendrick says they have not determined who will serve as Elliott's spotter this week for the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So we talked about that back in the first hour of the show. By the way, breaking news on ESPN Upstate, powered by Odyssey.com Sports and presented by BetQL. Become a better sports bettor. Get smarter to beat the books. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com. Today, we talked about this back in the first hour of the show, and I said, look, it is very difficult to me. It is very difficult to me to accept that NASCAR just did not know about this. There is a rule in place for NASCAR that arrests must be reported within 72 hours by the person who was arrested. Does not mean that arrest will lead to an immediate suspension. Doesn't mean that it won't either, but it must be reported. He did not report, which is, unfortunately right now, it looks like that is the reason for this, or part of the reason for the suspension. And again, I know I'm putting on my conspiracy theory hat and I'm making an assumption here, but I got a difficult time believing that news of an arrest for felony assault on a woman and felony battery on an unborn child didn't make the circuit of NASCAR Inside News. I can't imagine that this news didn't get out to somebody. If it was to come out that somebody knew of this arrest, that somebody knew this happened and nobody made a move on it, for a sport that to me gained a lot of goodwill over the last year, everything that they did after the beginning of the protests after the murder, or the death, I'll call it what it is, a murder of George Floyd last year, after being the sport, by the way, the first sport to come back after the pandemic, the first sport to welcome fans back after the pandemic, all the moves that NASCAR made during the lockdown to continue to be accessible. Remember, they were running the virtual racing to give us something. NASCAR figured it out. All the goodwill they built. I'm not saying this gets rid of all of it, but it would absolutely be a shot at NASCAR if it was to come out that Hendrick or NASCAR or even members of those staffs, if not the whole teams, knew that this guy had been arrested for a absolutely despicable and unacceptable crime, and nothing was done about it, and he was allowed to continue to serve in a prominent role as the spotter for the 9 ride. Man, that's just an unfortunate story, Lonzo. Just an unfortunate story.
So, when was the actual arrest again?
Early last month. It was sometime in the middle of April.
So if it was a little more recent, like if it was 2 days ago, you could understand why it took a while for them to do this. And the main question is this suspension only because the Reddit user found this out and put it out there, and now it's being talked about? Is this the only reason why the suspension happened?
Yeah. The news broke, for those of you who missed the story. The news broke about 12:30 this morning because some guy on Reddit happened to come across his name on a North Carolina County Department of Corrections website, and found the arrest and the charges and broke it on Reddit. That was last night at like 12:30, 11:30 at night, some point. And then today, NASCAR's like, oh, we just learned about it today. And I'm not saying it's impossible, Lonzo. It's a phrase I like to utter a lot. I'm not saying it is impossible, but I am saying it is improbable and unreasonable to believe that this arrest has been floating around for a month now, and no one from Hendrick Motorsports and no one from NASCAR knew about it. I'm not going to go so far and be as bold as to say there was a conspiracy to sweep this under the rug and avoid the negative publicity that comes along with it. But Zoe, I got a hard time believing that it is that this arrest, a major arrest from a big-time player on arguably the most successful NASCAR franchise of all, I just got a hard time believing nobody knew or found out about this, and it was just off the record this whole time. I got a hard time believing that.
Well, at least now it is found out and measures have been taken.
844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Let's take a break. When we come back, Elena Getzenberg from the Charlotte Observer is going to join us here on the show. She got eyes on Sam Darnold for the first time. We'll ask her what she saw at OTAs. Coming up next on the Rob Brown Show, this is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
Number is in your inbox. Great one. Outstanding.
Real, unfiltered sports talk brewed locally.
Oh my God, a hipster! Bring him a microbrew, quick!
This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. I am Rob. Lonzo back in the network studio. And to the phone lines we go now to welcome in Elena Getzenberg from the Charlotte Observer. She joins us on the show before to talk Carolina Panther football. She does again now. Elena, welcome back. It's great to hear from you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be back.
Absolutely. Let's jump right to it, Elena. And obviously, I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes, this is a really interesting offseason because a lot of people feel like if a step towards getting them back on top of the NFC South is going to happen, then the foundation has to be laid for that this offseason. Sam Darnold taking over. We've gotten now to see the first glimpses of him as the new starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Through the very beginning of OTAs so far, our first look at actual football action from Sam Darnold. What can you tell us? What has stood out to you so far?
Yeah, like you said, it's still very early. No pressure or contact or anything like that. But just from watching him yesterday for a couple hours, he looks good. The throws look good, a couple of nice ones, and one to DJ Moore that sticks out in my head. But I think he looked good. What was interesting too was Matt Rule after practice talks to us about how they want to see him maybe work on moving around a little bit more, something he didn't do as much with the Jets. But overall, I think, the reviews are very positive. He's learning, moving in the right direction. It's where you think they'd be at the end of May.
Elena Getzenberg from the Charlotte Observer joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. So I was reading the quotes. You put out an article. I picked it up off of yahoosports.com where you had that quote from Matt Rule saying that the biggest thing for him is to find a way to just get comfortable with a system that is going to move the pocket. He said that the system that Sam Darnold came from is static. Look, I know a lot of this is kind of speculative, Elena, because it is early. He's been on the field for just, a couple of days now. He got a couple of days of workouts with Christian McCaffrey before OTA started. But it's a pretty drastic difference in systems between what he did at New York, which is more a classic, traditional stereotype, old school offense versus what Matt Rule is going to do. Has he shown in the first couple of days and has Matt Rule indicated that they're comfortable, that Sam Darnold will be able to get comfortable in that system?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he mentioned as well, which didn't quite make the story, that, there's improvement from where he was, when he first walked in. Even a couple of weeks ago, there's been, increasing the amount of work they're able to do. So there's been some teamwork for a couple of weeks now. So yes, I think he's moving in the right direction. I think, it's something where they've got a lot of days of practice ahead. The next 3 weeks and then training camp, and he's learning the offense. And I think, it's going to, if he was ready to go right away, that would be weird because, that you need to learn it and adapt to it. But yeah, I think there's been no indications that he's not moving in the right direction. And I think now it's just, everyone needs to wait into patience and, we'll finally see how it goes in September.
Patience is right now, Elena. I think patience is the big word, right? We've got to give Sam Darnold time to get comfortable. We got to give Matt Rule time to get comfortable, to feel out Sam Darnold and what tinkering he needs to do with the system, et cetera. But I also know, like I said, I feel, Elena, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I feel like there's some pressure on Carolina. I mean, Tom Brady, yes, he's defying age at 43 and winning Super Bowls, but even the immortal Tom Brady can't do it forever. Drew Brees is gone from New Orleans, and the Saints have big questions. Atlanta has a new coach. They're about to get rid of one of their better players in Julio Jones. It seems to me like the door is about to open for the next dominant team in the NFC South once Tom Brady decides that his time is up and he's moving on. And, I've said a couple of times on the show here, Elena, that Carolina's in a really good position to be able to put that foot in the door and take the next step. But if they don't put the basic foundation down this year, then that becomes harder to do because Sean Payton does have a good idea of what to do in New Orleans. Atlanta still does have a really potent offense. And even with Brady gone, Tampa's roster still looks good if they can find a replacement. how important are OTAs in your mind, how important are OTAs for Carolina to really put down the foundation to be ready when that door opens for the rest of the division?
Yeah, I think it's all important. I mean, I think you make a good point in that, I think that we've got a couple more years here of the Bucs being, a Super Bowl contending team, and then we'll see how it goes. But there's a window that's going to be opening, and I think we don't want to put too much stock into any part of the offseason, but I think this is important, especially considering the Panthers didn't have this last year because of COVID. So it's new to this coaching staff. So it's especially exciting to get this extra time with the players. I think that's really valuable. I think they had a high attendance number. Robbie Anderson was pretty much the only starter not there overall. Most of the veterans were there even. And I think that's a good sign for this team moving forward. But I would also say this year as a whole, I mean, I think we can talk. It's good to get stuff done in OTA. It's good to get stuff done in training camp. But in terms of this team, developing forward to get that window that's going to be open in the NFC South, we're going to have to see something in games, because until then, it's all this talk and practice is good. But that's what's going to really, they got to lay down that foundation. But yeah, I think this time's very valuable, and it's not something to be overlooked, especially since they didn't have it last year.
Elena Getzenberg from the Charlotte Observer joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Chemistry. This is the point where you want Sam Darnold to be building chemistry with Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, with Christian McCaffrey, with Chuba Hubbard, who I want to ask you about here in just a minute. But this is the point in time when you want a new quarterback to build the chemistry. You don't want to go into training camp and still be working on timing. You want that part down so you can start the real hard install with full teams. Based on what you saw out of Sam Darnold in the early portion of OTAs, first time throwing with some of these guys, maybe fourth, fifth time throwing with others. Did you see any of that chemistry? Did they look like they were good on timing, or is it a project in process?
Yeah, I think their timing was good. Something that the players have organized that Sam has been at, DJ, a lot of the guys have been attending these workouts just with the players, where they've kind of just been throwing the ball in Charlotte. And I think that's huge. I mean, that's been going on for the last couple, since Sam kind of got traded, they've been doing that. So I think that's something that's really important. And there weren't any obvious, their connection is off issues, in one OTA practice. But so I think keeping that in mind, that's something they've done already. And I mean, I think maybe this is getting overlooked a little bit, but Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson already have a connection. They played together for multiple years. He's thrown the most touchdowns in his career to Robbie. So that connection is pretty much good to go, I would say. And it looks like he's on the way to building it with the rest of the guys.
Elena Getzenberg joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So we've had another young man, Rashad Beard, who joins us here every now and then to talk Carolina Panthers as well. And he and I have disagreed on Chuba Hubbard, the fourth round pick out of Oklahoma State. I thought he was a fantastic pick. Maybe a bit of a stretch in the fourth round, but for the gap that he fills, being that 1-2 punch with Christian McCaffrey, gives you kind of a more dense bowling ball style back, but still a guy that can catch out of the backfield, so it doesn't decrease the threat of throwing to the running back, etc. I think he fills a very important role, much in the way that we have seen running back 1-2 duos like Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara with the New Orleans Saints the past couple of years. I like the pickup. There were questions about whether the guy was 100% mentally NFL ready. Has Chuba Hubbard done anything to impress you folks up there in Charlotte?
Well, it's a little hard to see right now, just because Chuba at the session open to the media yesterday was dealing with a little bit of an injury, or was held out for most of the practice, so he was actually to the side. So we didn't get to see him running around too much, but I wouldn't read too much into that. There were a lot of guys that were being cautious with. But I liked the pick, I'll say. I mean, I think if we learned anything last year about the Panthers, is that they need someone who can run the ball on all three downs. If Christian McCaffrey is injured or has to miss some snaps, I think Chuba has that potential. I agree there are, if you're picked in the fourth round, you're picked in the fourth round for a reason. But I think, they need someone. They didn't have someone on the roster that was a clear backup to Christian, and that's a big issue. And now I think they have that guy. And I think he can have success in this offense. He's someone that Rule is very comfortable with. So I like the pick, and I think he could be a good fit.
Elena Getzenberg from the Charlotte Observer joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So kind of open-ended. We talked a little bit about Sam Darnold and what you saw there. I've talked about Matt Rule in the past. I was not a big fan of the hiring. When they brought him in, I didn't love it. I thought that there was a story that came about him that he when he was at Baylor, he didn't really know how to run a pro-style offense, and he had to go get help from high school coaches around Texas, which high schools in Texas are basically small colleges for football programs. But and on top of that, there just didn't seem to be the experience that I think he would have needed to go up against Bruce Arians, to go up against Sean Payton, etc. But one of the things that has won me over about Matt Rule is the fact that as far as building a locker room culture, he seems to be that guy. I mean, when he's in front of a microphone, he seems upfront and honest. He doesn't really hold all back. It's not a coach speak kind of guy. Have the players bought in to Matt Rule? I mean, he has completely won me over as a head coaching hire. Do the players buy into the culture that Matt Rule is trying to build, in your opinion?
Yeah, wow. It only took you one season to buy in. I think they have, and I think that's evidenced by, the amount of veterans that showed up to these voluntary OTAs, because they didn't have to be there. And we're seeing across the league a lot of players choosing not to be there, and that is their choice. They're voluntary. But I think, the guys understanding why this time is important is representative that they're buying in. I think at the beginning of the last season, there was not complete buy-in, and it took a little bit of time to understand what he was looking for and what he was, preaching on about. But I think now, especially the veterans have kind of seen how he wants things to go and see where he's coming from. And I do think there is significantly more buy-in than last offseason. They kind of know what to expect from him. So, yeah, I think so. I think his message has got across to the players, and they're all believing in what he's saying overall. I mean, I think it's still a work in progress, right? It's only the second offseason under him and the first complete one with a full training camp and all that. So I think, seeing that process continue to work out this offseason will be big, and that message really sinking in and what he wants to accomplish.
One of the bigger questions, Elena, one or two more, and then we'll cut you loose. One of the bigger questions about the OTAs is finding the foundation of this offensive line. On paper, let's be honest, it doesn't look great. But they bring in Brady Christensen to kind of help be an anchor. Tyler Moton appears to be moving around a little bit. I think I saw a picture of him the other day working out at left tackle. To getting some work done there. I don't know if that's going to be a big switch or they were just preparing him in case, et cetera. But, listen, Sam Darnold can only be as good as the offensive line allows him to be. How big of a priority does it seem to be to find that anchor five? And might Carolina still be on the lookout to add more offensive linemen down the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. I mean, I've been pretty set on the fact that I don't think they did enough at left tackle this offseason. I think it shouldn't be as much of a question mark as it is. There's three guys you could tell me are starting at left tackle right now, week one, and I'd be like, okay, that shouldn't be the case, that we should know who is starting at left tackle. But yeah, I think it's a big priority, and I think throughout the next couple of months, I wouldn't read too much into any line combination. I think we're going to see them move everyone around, and they brought in a lot of versatile players, and they're going to see who fits where best and kind of go from there. And that kind of comes with not having a set offensive line. Matt Paradis will for sure be playing center, and there's a couple other pretty secure spots, but there's also some question marks. So it's going to be very interesting, and it is a priority to get that figured out. They're aware of, they've franchise tagged Taylor Moton. They understand why the offensive line is a priority. In terms of adding players, yeah, I think they could be open to that, but I also think, and that's with any position, they're not exactly like room. There's been a lot of offensive linemen signed in the last couple of weeks, and they haven't really been a part of that, so I think that tells you something. But maybe they'll add a player or two, but I wouldn't, the big names went off the board recently, so I think that tells you something.
Elena Getzenberg from the Charlotte Observer. You can follow her on Twitter at @Getzenberg, AGETZENBERG. A tremendous follow for Carolina football information. Elena, phenomenal to have you back on the show. I really appreciate it. We'll do it again real soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Elena Getzenberg, fantastic Carolina Panther beat reporter for the Charlotte Observer. Quick break. We come back and we wrap it all up with Twitter trending topics. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo, and this is the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate. We're back into the restroom.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or
This is your reminder. Send me those replies.
Yes. Thank you for that reminder. You're better than Alexa with a more soothing voice.
By the way, the thing you just sent me, I saw that.
Okay. And did you see what Stipe said?
That I did not see.
He said that he would be happy to fight John Jones if that's what's called for, but that his priority is Francis Nnganou.
And it should be.
Oh, yeah.
His priority should be trying to get his belt back. Yeah.
Exactly. But he said, I think the more interesting part is that he said he would fight John Jones if that's what the occasion called for, which it's hard for me to say it doesn't.
One minute.
Zoe, are you interested in the Cruella de Vil movie at all?
Without a doubt, I am not interested one bit.
A bit, huh?
I don't get why. I mean, I like Emma Stone, but I don't get it. I don't get it.
I just don't know, like, what direction do you take arguably the most psychopathic Disney villain as a standalone movie, right? Like, what's the redemption arc for Cruella de Vil, a woman whose name has cruel and devil in the name?
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
It is now time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet, and he tells us what he knows. Earlier in the show, we mentioned something that had been trending. It's named 3 perfect movies. Each of us named one. I went with Alien. Rob went with Tombstone. I wouldn't want to finish the show out without us giving our other 2 because, that just wouldn't be right.
I accept that. I am going to add in slot number 2, Lonzo. I'm going to add Braveheart. Again, not a historically accurate movie, but a great movie nonetheless. I'm going to add Braveheart to that list. And I am going to add, somebody suggested it earlier, and I was trying to find a reason not to steal somebody else's. But I think the third one, I think I'm putting The Sandlot on that list. Sandlot might be the most perfect sports movie ever made. I love Sandlot. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Braveheart. I'm going to go with Tombstone, and I'm going to go with Sandlot.
And I can't argue with any of those. So as I said before, my first one was Alien. My second one would be Dark Knight. And my third one, to me, still the best superhero movie of all time, and that would be Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier was the best Marvel movie, just in terms of a movie. Like, standalone or not, it was the best Marvel movie. I will agree with that. The only things that I can pick apart are pretty small, right? Just like pretty small little issues that I have with it. But as a superhero movie goes, it's pretty close to perfect.
All right, the next thing that's trending is Miles Teller.
Miles Teller trending, and I could not tell you why, Lonzo. I haven't seen that name pop up on my Twitter at any point today.
All right, it's been all over mine. Miles Teller is an actor, by the way. He just happens to be in Hawaii right now with his wife, spending time with one Aaron Rodgers and Shailene Woodley, and they are cliff jumping. And I'm just curious, is it anywhere in his contract that he's not allowed to go cliff jumping?
I'm getting the vague impression, Lonzo, that Aaron Rodgers, as the kids say, DGAF about his contract right this second. You know, like what's the worst thing you're gonna do? Fire me and let me go to another team?
Well, the worst thing that you're going to do is you're going to die jumping off a cliff. But other than that, yeah, there's.
You never jumped off a cliff into like off an island into a pond or something.
My son jumped off a cliff one time, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack because I looked up, and there he was on the edge of the cliff. And I know my son. There's no way he's jumping off of that. And next thing you know, there down he goes, and I'm like, oh my God. I love it. Yeah, it just, well, in this case, it wasn't that. There was a very small window of water to jump into. And, yeah. So,
the headline, Aaron Rodgers' career over after shattering 2 legs, cliff jumping in Hawaii, not at Green Bay Packers OTAs. Can't wait for that headline.
All right, the last thing that's trending is James Bond.
James Bond is trending because Amazon has bought out
MGM,
who own the rights to James Bond, meaning that James Bond is now in the Amazon universe, and there are discussions about Amazon, being in charge of new James Bond's movies, but potentially creating a James Bond television show spinoff. And there are some of us that love it, and there are some people who hate the idea of a Bond spinoff TV series. We may very well have to bring that up tomorrow. That's it for the show. For Lonzo, my name's Rob Brown. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow to try harder, off on Friday and Monday. So get your fill tomorrow, boys and girls. Don't drink a drive. I'll punch you in the face. Have a great rest of your day. My name is Rob Brown. This is The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Later. Those in the stream, appreciate you watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it again.